ham dish. Era like jamón.
Good evening, everyone.
with
Please
some
be seated.
tortilla
We'll
bacon.
be starting the
Daddy didn't
meeting
wanna
now.
order. She was like, "Why are we ordering ham?" And I'm like, "Babe, like let's just try it."
No worries.
Sorry, we're just excited about
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right, great. All right. Welcome everybody to the South Miami City Commission meeting Tuesday, November 18th. Please silence or turn off your cell phones. Madam City Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Yes, Vice Mayor, Vice Mayor Corey,
Here.
Commissioner Rodriguez,
Here.
Commissioner Bonish,
Here.
Commissioner Kaye.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. I'm sitting in tonight for the mayor, who may be joining us later virtually. He's out of town. So we'll start the evening with a moment of silence and then the Pledge of Allegiance. So please stand. For today, I'd like you to recognize Miami-Dade County Sheriff Deputy Devin Jaramillo, who unfortunately and tragically lost his life in the line of duty recently. So if we can keep his family and the entire police force in our thoughts and prayers, please join me in a moment of silence. Commissioner Bonich, would you like to say the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. I believe we have one presentation tonight, and that's an update on the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. Welcome, Parks Director Pugh.
Thank you. While John is getting the mic working, good evening, Vice Mayor, Commissioner, City Manager, City Attorney, members of the audience. I just want to give a quick introduction of Hadley Peterson of Kimberly Horn and Associates. She's a community planner and she's the project manager for our Parks and Rec Master Plan. She's going to quickly give an overview of the work completed to date, a summary of the community survey results that we received, review the level of services, and some benchmarks against other municipalities, and next steps in our master plan process over the next 3 to 4 months until completion. Ms. Peterson?
Thank you, Commissioners. It's been a couple months since I've been here to present to you, so we just wanted to give you an update on where we've been since August, I think was the last commission meeting we've been at. And so, hold on, there we go. So this is a schedule of where we've been and where we're going. As you may remember, we kicked this project off in May. We went and visited all your parks and facilities, gave them scores. We met with your staff to talk about your programs, your operations, your maintenance, your funding, and how all of that was going, as well as did a pretty robust public engagement. Then we also worked on starting to look at level of service, which is something that I know we've talked in this room quite a bit about in terms of, is it acreage? Is it something else? What does this look like for the city of South Miami for the next 10 years? And so that's brought us to where we are today. And right now we're working on wrapping up the needs assessment. So that is, there's 12 measures, quantitative and qualitative, that really assess your parks and recreation system to give you an overview of what it's like and to build the foundations of our recommendations. And so this week is really the culmination of that. Then we will put everything into a PDF, share it with staff, and once it's reviewed by them, share it with you all to really culminate the first phase of this project. And I'll talk about a couple of engagement opportunities this week that we're doing to wrap that piece of it up. As part of that needs assessment, these are items that we've done since last time we talked. So We mentioned last time that we were aligning with regional and local efforts. We had held several focus groups over the summer with other stakeholders, other agencies that mentioned some additional plans to wrap into this. So we've looked at everything that you see on this list, plus the landscape master plan and the hometown district branding effort to tie it all into the recommendations that we'll make for the parks and recreation system. This is new information for you all. This is basically the scores of visiting all your parks and facilities. Everything is out of 100. If you see something in orange, it means it's below expectations. So it's really great news that there are no parks that scored that low in this system. The highest scoring parks you can see there on your screen. A lot of these are due to the amount of use we saw there or recently improved facilities at some of these locations. In terms of some of the other categories where maybe there's more room for growth, access and linkage is the lowest. And so that's that access and connectivity that I think all of you knew was going to be a big piece of this project. And this is kind of showing that observational findings in support of that. So this is a map that shows where the parks are obviously located through the city with those evaluation scores with them. I think it's especially important to note as developments come in around City Hall and along the underline, those parks in the core of the city are working really hard, and some of them are a little bit lower in terms of their score today. And so we will be making recommendations to increase, the performance of some of those parks as well to ensure that, especially as they see more use over the next 10 years, they're keeping up with that demand. Additionally, we looked at a lot of demographics and development patterns in the city to see how this might impact the Parks and Recreation system. I don't think any of the facts on the screen are necessarily new to you, but I think, putting them through the lens of Parks and Recreation. So with the understanding of developments like Avalon, The Link, and Sunset Place, what is that going to mean for smaller park spaces or connectivity to park spaces for renters and other residents? And how might we be able to recommend really high quality, high performing spaces? Especially with the demographics that we're seeing increase in South Miami over the next 10 years, there's going to be additional demand for cultural events and cultural programming, things like So My Sounds that you're already doing, but additional programming like that, as well as group fitness in programs. That's two of the biggest indicators based off of the market demand for the population you're going to see increase in South Miami. So how can we start to plan for that? And so then we, layered these demographics on maps. And so just looking at where are certain populations based in the city, especially when it comes to, households without a vehicle or households below the poverty line that may need low barrier, access to recreation. And where are those people located, and how might we make different recommendations to ensure accessibility for all residents of South Miami in the future. Additionally, when we start to think about where the youth population is located, obviously the joint use with schools has been a big piece of this. I know you all have seen some concepts for those sites that is built off of the data that we've been gathering for this Parks and Rec Master Plan. But how might we also target additional improvements in areas where youth is going to increase in the next 10 years for environmental programming, for group fitness, for sports, and how can we really target the areas of the city that may need that most? And that layers into level of service. Like I mentioned, access is one way to think of level of service, and so is acreage. Currently, the city has the standard of 4 acres per 1,000. And all that this chart goes to say is right now, the city is currently providing 3.6 acres per 1,000. That does not include the underline, that does not include Ludlam Trail, any future acquisitions, any school property. That's simply city-owned and maintained parks. And so when you start to look at how, when you add in, if it's the underline, if it's new acquisitions, Snapper Creek, Ludlam Trail, we start to, that 3.6 moves to 5.4 acres. And so we're starting to work with staff to understand what do we want to consider when we're considering acres per person, and how might then we make some recommendations for, is there a different way to think about public-private partnerships when it comes to providing private parkland? Maybe it's not acres of parks, maybe it's amenities, maybe it's mixed-use trails. So we're working through that right now. This is simply, the data stage of what the findings are. And pretty interestingly, this is that 3.6. Again, very importantly, that doesn't include the underline, Ludlam Trail. You can see how you are compared to some peers and the national average. The national average is kind of extreme in this situation because you're comparing yourself to very, very large park systems that have open space, mountain parks, hundreds of thousands of acres. So that one is a little hard to compare yourself to, but I think especially when you look at Pinecrest or Coral Gables, if you start to include the underline in here, you do have more acres, per thousand than those communities. If you don't, you're a little lower. Again, we don't have the recommendations yet, simply showing you the data of this is where we stand. So now what do we want to do to help you close that gap and provide for more park space and access to those parks in the future? These maps are a little small on the screen, but essentially what this goes to show is 99% of South Miami residents have access to a park within 10 minutes of their home. That's the national standard really set by Trust for Public Land for access to park space. And something that we've been talking with staff about is pushing the city of South Miami further, looking at within 5-minute walk, right? So obviously that puts some of your city in a gap, but what could we do to make sure that every resident has a park within 5 minutes of their home is something pretty outstanding and way above national levels. So we're just starting to look at access as another benchmark for park provision and park access. And a quarter mile is about a 5-minute walk, just so you know. We also looked at the level of service for your facilities. So this takes into account, every bench in your system, every ball field in your system, every court, and what do you have enough of, what do you need more of? And so in order to maintain, the current level of service you are providing today, the list on the screen is what you will need more of by 10 years from now. When you start to compare yourself against national peers of the same size jurisdiction with the same amount of funding for parks and recreation, the biggest gaps are in indoor sports amenities and indoor or outdoor aquatics. And then South Miami exceeds those same national standards for dog parks, multi-use fields, playgrounds, and small courts. So basically, provide a really good amount of those. Maybe we do something to increase indoor sports and aquatics. So those are some of the things we're looking at and how they benchmark both locally but then nationally as well. This is staff and funding. So a lot of numbers. I think the biggest takeaway here is the city has made a very big commitment in the last 3 years or so especially to invest in parks and recreation spaces. Full-time positions for Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Services has increased 30% since 2022, and the capital spending in that amount of time has also doubled. So right now there's, a good core staff doing a lot with a little. I think, especially compared to other communities we work with around the country, the staff is doing, and the system's doing a very exceptional job of capturing revenue. So the revenue per capita rate at $96 is much higher than we see across many systems. You can see here it's compared to other local jurisdictions. Pinecrest is the only one that does a little bit better in their revenue capture. Obviously a very different community as well. But I think that's a very commendable job by staff and by the system. So how can we continue to, craft recommendations of put a fee policy in place, look at program revenue to continue that work over the next 10 years. And then just a brief summary of the public engagement. I think you all knew we had an in-person workshop here in this room back in August. We also hosted 3 virtual focus groups. We had dozens of stakeholder interviews earlier in the summer. Most recently, we were at the Safe Streets Halloween event, which was great. We vastly underestimated the amount of candy we would need for that event. 1,000 pieces did not go very far. And then we had our survey. I'm going to skip actually through kind of the summary of the engagement that we did earlier in the summer, just because I know I've talked individually with some of you about how this has gone, just to spend a little bit more time on the survey, which is new information for you all. So at the end of that survey, we had 348 responses, which makes it a statistically valid survey. Its margin of error is less than 5%, which means this is statistically representative of households in South Miami. We were able to weight by demographics to ensure that it was representative of the actual households in South Miami. The full survey report will be available by next week, so we'll make sure you all get a copy of that if you haven't already. I think the biggest takeaways, everyone uses your parks, everyone loves your parks. 99% of residents that took the survey visited a park recently, and 80% of them said the quality of the parks was excellent or good. One of the biggest areas for improvement is availability of information about the parks and about programs. People rated lower, not very good. Additionally, we asked questions, what are your goals? How do you want parks to work for you? What are your goals for them? Protecting and improving the environment ranked very high, as well as providing connectivity via trails, and then making it a desirable place to live and work. Dante Facel was the most visited park. Most people, are walking or using trails. That was one of the highest activities. So I think all of this goes to show, again, reinforcing that access and connectivity is going to be a very big part of the plan's recommendations moving forward. Here are some of those themes, again, like I mentioned, the natural environment, the active mobility. When asked how we should balance maintaining what we have and investing in something new, we're practically split down the middle, 50-50. So I'm going to, create recommendations that try to bridge the gap there. But I think also something very notable is 80% of residents that took the survey, which is representative of all residents, say that the parks are safe and inviting, which is very high when compared to national benchmarks with the same survey question. Again, areas of opportunity, like I mentioned, just availability of information. The top, we asked, what is the main reason you do not visit your parks more or do not participate in more programs? And it was awareness of what is there, what is out there. So I think definitely making some recommendations around that. When it comes to facilities that need more improvement, it's natural areas, restrooms, lighting, and tree coverage, which I'm sure is not news to you all. And then the programs definitely rated lower than facilities, and especially camps and fitness classes. And we know there's going to be an increased demand for fitness classes in the future. So again, there's similar themes that we heard across some of these measures that we're gonna be starting to summarize in terms of our needs assessment, which is the report that we'll be finalizing over the next week or so, and then giving a copy to staff and then you all to see that first kind of half of the endeavor. So from there, like I mentioned, finalizing that needs assessment this month. Then we'll go into really the strategic implementation planning, which is the capital improvements, acquisitions, program and funding recommendations, really the meat on the bone of the plan, to have a draft version to show you all by early February. So that's where we're at on this schedule. I know that was a lot of new information pretty quickly, but just wanted to leave time if you all had any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Great presentation. Does anyone on the commission have any questions? Sure, Commissioner Rodriguez.
Hi, how you doing? So, couple questions. When you posted the acreage there, are you already looking into the future, for example, like Dr. Price Park, it's going to be a pass-through park, but it's still going to become a park, and also Manor Lane, once that's all closed, is that part of that number? Or
The number you see on your screen, this 3.6, does not include those projects.
Okay.
But the number, if those projects are included, is 5.4.
Okay.
So we have done it both ways. We just, you know, those are a little bit more hypothetical right now. And so we have drafted, you know, just based on what's in your system today. And then we also have a number that includes, the 5.4 includes both those efforts, the Underline, Ludlam Trail, and Snapper Creek.
Okay. Who did the evaluation for the parks rating?
So the park evaluation is observational, and so the scores are gonna depend on the time and day that you do them. I did them along with my landscape architect partner. So
Okay.
we visited all the sites, both of us. We have a standardized form that we use across all systems that we work with. And it's based off of Project for Public Spaces. So it's across 32 different criteria in those categories here. And so again, it's dependent on the day and time you visit. So we were here in May. School was not in session. It was a weekday, midday approximately when we were here. So these ebb and flow a little bit.
Do you interview people at the park, or you just do it on your own?
We
just
just do
curious.
it on our own,
Okay.
but if people are there and usually people are curious what we're doing, we just tell them a little bit about it. And any of the kind of interviews or information we gather from people there are documented as part of the appendix to this project.
Okay, and my last question, would you give us, because I'm thinking of the city and walking in, and pretty much, I mean, everywhere that I can think of, you're pretty much 5 minutes away from a park. So are you gonna give us those locations where they're not? That way we can focus on those areas?
Yes, and so the map here on the top left, the darkest color blue,
Okay.
that's 5 minutes. So you can see that anything white within the city boundary there is not within 5 minutes. And then the map right next to it, that's now 10 minutes. So you can see that 5 to 10 minute range is where you capture most of your city. And I think also importantly, when you start to look at 15 minutes, you know, you're getting into a lot of other jurisdictions and I think that's a big thing here. You know, a lot of people drive through South Miami going to work, are near here going to school. How can we also capture visitors as well to increase revenue is something we'll be thinking about as well.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. That map's very helpful, obviously. It gives us some strategic ideas of where to potentially put parks. Were there any other questions from the commission? One question, Commissioner Benich.
I can't figure out if this captures the Girl Scouts area that we're taking
This
back.
does capture Girl Scouts, yes,
Okay.
right across from Palmer Park, yes.
Yes, thanks.
And then also, I would be remiss to forget, and I almost did forget if it wasn't for Quinton, but Thursday evening in this room, we have a public workshop. We will be going through these findings in a little bit more detail and then doing small group activities about really implementing recommendations to help, you know, bridge the gap between these. And that starts at 6:30.
All right. Well, thank you again. Thank you very much, and we definitely look forward to, I'm so sorry. Commissioner Kaya, you have the floor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
No problem.
I didn't see anything too much on the public waterway systems. Is there any feedback or any remarks on that we should, we've had different opportunities in capital improvement projects that we've spoken about with the waterway systems and possibly addressing that. But I didn't see anything really addressed with that. Can you give us a little bit more background on that?
Yes, definitely. And so waterways was included in one of the 3 focus groups we did. So in terms of when we were talking about access and connectivity, we included the waterways and some stakeholders around that from the Water Management District as part of that conversation to just understand a little bit from their perspective, the feasibility as well. And then I think, again, in this access map, you start to see the importance of the canal as it runs through the city when you're starting to think about that 5-minute walk. And so as we move into recommendations, Blueways will definitely still be a piece of this. But we haven't done anything other than initial conversations with the Water Management District and stakeholders at this time.
Thank you.
Yes, and thank you again. And again, we look forward to the next phases of the project. We really appreciate it.
Of course, thank you all.
Thank you. quick cleanup item, we have an add-on. Is anybody opposed to this, or can we make a motion to add it to the agenda? Any, a motion?
What's the add-on?
Add-on F1, a Proserbia item?
Oh, yes, 100%.
Okay.
I'll move it.
A second?
Yeah, I'll second.
All right, wonderful. Okay, so we're going to add that to the end of the resolution, so it'll be a new kind of number 9 there for your record keeping. And next up is the approval of the minutes of October 21st. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll move the motion.
Second.
All right, the minutes have been approved,
Well, we
and,
have to
oh,
vote.
so we have to vote. My bad.
Commissioner Kaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Rodriguez,
Yes.
Commissioner Bonish,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Corey.
Yes, and do we also have to vote for the Proserbia item? Because I don't know if we did that or not.
No.
To add it? No? Okay, great. Thank you. All right, so then we'll move on to the city manager's report. Welcome, Assistant City Manager.
Thank you. Our Parks and Rec team, in partnership with Interval International, is introducing a new community-focused initiative that's aimed at spreading holiday cheer this year to South Miami families. So for the first time, the city's annual toy giveaway is going to feature home deliveries directly to South Miami children, delivered by Santa's volunteers. Families who want to participate can register online. They have to register by Sunday, the 24th, November 24th, and provide their child's toy preferences. So we're going to do our best to make sure that the child's going to provide 3 preferences, to provide one of their favorites, and a volunteer will deliver it to their doorstep on December 20th between 10 a.m. and 12:30 p.m. I want to say congratulations to South Miami Grey Ghost Pee Wee cheerleaders who earned 3rd place, and the varsity cheerleaders who captured 1st place at the Orange Bowl cheer competition. And a special shout out to their parents, coaches, the team commissioners for making that all happen.
Congrats.
Congratulations.
This Friday, we have the city's Thanksgiving giveaway that's happening in the community center. Begins at 6 p.m. for residents and will go until we run out of supplies on that night. I want to make a note that on the manager's report, there's a November 19th date for the ribbon cutting at South Miami Park for the restroom and concession building, but that's been pushed back to December 11th. So just a correction on the printed report. And unless there are any questions, I want to bring up Chief Hatfield, who's going to share some information on police staffing and demographics.
Thank you.
Question.
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
sorry. Go ahead, Commissioner. Kaye.
Sorry, Chief. For the Interval gift drive, are we doing anything to drive people to bring gifts to that location? What can we do to drive more traffic or more gifts to Interval? Is there anything that we can do, publicly announce it, us ourselves?
So they're working in partnership with us, and we're going to have a marketing campaign going out.
Okay.
The parents will register for the gifts that their kids want, and we will provide it in partnership with Interval and deliver it straight to the children. So we weren't getting a great turnout on the toy drive in past years, so they're trying something new in order to make sure that kids get what they want and we can go to them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And welcome, Chief.
Good evening, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. I'm pleased to report that the Police Department remains at full staffing. We are still doing recruitment efforts for our 2 part-time positions that were authorized in the current budget year, and there are oral interviews underway for those positions to be filled. As part of that, I'm pleased to also announce that, and nationally, most police departments, public safety, but police departments more specifically, struggle to meet the demographics of their community that they serve, those specifically the nationally recognized minority communities. And I'm pleased to announce that we have not only achieved our demographics, but we have exceeded those demographics within our police department's recruitment efforts. And I applaud our officers as well as this commission for all the recruitment that has been allowed us to maintain full staffing for quite a little period of time here. We plan for our future, we lean forward into it, and that's what's keeping us at full staffing. The demographics also include 30% of our, nearly 30% of our workforce is female, which nationally is 12% in law enforcement. So many agencies are doing a 30 by 30 initiative. We've already achieved it. So I'm pleased to announce that as well. And it's important because female officers nationally use less force, use less excessive force, are generally less involved in internal affairs investigations or complaints, as well as help with regards to sexual battery investigations. They're seen as more approachable. And then again, for the demographics piece, representing your community and your demographics will also, break barriers for us in the community. I thank you. Pending any questions, that's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions?
I just,
Sorry. We'll do Commissioner Kaye first. He had his hand up first.
we hit the buzzer.
Chief, congratulations. I also wanted to tell the community that we just had two employees just come on board. Can you talk a little bit about them, who they are, and what they're going to be doing for the community?
Yes, so we've had two new officers come on board. The two recently graduated the police academy. One was a homegrown internal communications officer, and Barbie, and then our second officer, Officer Rocio, was recruited, again, by one of our officers, Officer Barbie, in the academy to join our police department, and she was recognized at the Miami-Dade North College and at the School of Justice for being her leadership award.
Thanks, Chief.
Yes, sir.
Congrats again.
Commissioner Rodriguez?
I just wanted to commend the South Miami Police Force. There was the issue at Calamayor, and one of the partners gave me a call, and he told me that nothing but praises to the police force. And the detective, which was a female, I'm sorry, I don't remember, I don't know which one it
Castellano.
was, but he had nothing but good things to say about it, and that the police force and the detectives were amazing.
Thank
So
you, sir.
I commend the police force on that.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. And Commissioner Manich?
I'm happy to hear that we've got a diverse police force. I don't want that to come at the expense of a qualified police force. So I think that as a city, we need to weigh that and make sure that we stay on the right side of it versus the seemingly right side of it. I mean, I know that doesn't sound right, but I want the best and the brightest, not
ma'am.
something to fill a quota. And in addition to that, I think we keep our people because we're awesome. Like our police, you know what, I'm biased, I think, but I think you guys do an amazing job, and I thank you guys very much for taking care of us.
Yes.
We thank you as well for taking care of us.
And thank you, Chief. We've seen tremendous growth in our police department since you've been here, in the recruiting side especially. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we will move on to the city attorney's report. No news from the lawyers is good news. All right, thank you. All right, so we will open up to public remarks. If you have not yet, you can sign up in a sheet in the back of the room to speak. So anyone who has, oh, actually, I don't have that sheet here.
He's going to get it.
It's coming, it's coming.
Oh, thank you, Brandon. Yes, but it's a public hearing item, so we have to hear it. Thank you very much. Sorry if I butcher anyone's name. First on the list here is Jason Lopez. Jason, name and address for the record, please.
Jason Lopez, 7730 Southwest 65th Place. I'd like to follow up on the presentation earlier that promoted the idea of a 5-minute walk to parks. I know that you guys have heard me ringing the parks doorbell a lot lately, but it's a great concept, and I think that if South Miami could attain such a level, I think we would be something to really be proud of. Not that we aren't already, but that's like next level stuff, and if we can get to next level stuff, we should. On that note, I know the city's making large investments in landscaping, and I'm here to encourage you to plant smaller. There's this notion that planting larger things is better for, I guess the feeling or whatever it is. But if you go around to some of the projects that have been installed in the last couple of years, those trees still aren't established, and the city made, great expense into planting them. And you could plant 5-10 times as many plants with the same amount of money if you planted smaller, much less effort, much sooner to establish. So we could have a larger canopy, we could have more plants around for less money with less involvement. So I'd just like to encourage the city to consider concepts like that, because if you look around town, everything is planted large, everything's planted big. And when you think about a plant which in a small pot, it's pot bound one time, It's pop down on the next spot, pop down on the next spot, pop down on the next spot. We put it in the ground, hurricanes come and we don't have safe trees for South Miami. So if you put things in the ground, when the roots are at their youngest phase, you get the best establishment and we will have the best canopy for less money. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Next on the list is Denise Martinez. Name and address for the record, please.
Sure, Denise Martinez, 5831 Southwest 83rd Street.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Vice Mayor and Commissioners. I'm actually here for an upcoming discussion item, which is the legacy sewer connections. I believe Mayor Fernandez has spoken with all of you. We are requesting for all of you to please help us with an extension for the rest of the residents that are going to soon be receiving NORC's notices of required connections. Anyone who's on a septic, and is on a legacy sewer line will be receiving these notices. The problem with these notices is they're only giving us 90 days to connect. And unfortunately, for these legacy sewers, when they were installed, there was not the foresight to install sewer laterals. In doing a lot of research for myself and my neighbors who received these letters, the sewer lateral permitting alone takes 8 to 12 months. So the 90-day timeline is not only feasible, it's cruel, not to mention the costs that are associated with installing a sewer lateral are pretty insurmountable for a lot of us. So we're asking for your support of the mayor and his request to please help us get this extension for the entire city who's going to be receiving these NORC connection letters to give us a lot more time to be able to handle this situation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Denise. John Shaw, oh, sorry.
Mayor?
Yes, sure.
So,
Commissioner Kite.
just to let you know, the city manager, Public Works, all of us are well aware of what's going on. We're working on it. We understand how long ago that happened, so I know the whole city's involved and we're all helping out. So we'll get some feedback.
Thank you. John Shaw?
I feel this is backwards. Had I, if I was speaking before Denise, I would be the little band that opens for the headliner. And so she's done a lot of work. I mean, we appreciate her as a neighbor, but there are 3 of us in a row, actually 4 of us on our block that are going through this. And Diane and I are retired. I'm a retired teacher. She's a retired nurse. We got financial stuff going on. Our son has been fighting melanoma for multiple myeloma, since June of this year. We've been out there. We've also helped him financially. So, this is our issue. This is our thing that we have to do, but it's a personal thing. And I think all of us are looking at the impact of the financial cost here and the timeline at which we have to go. I got to say that when we talk to the county, things have been curt. Things have not been helpful. We've gotten a letter that doesn't tell us much except 90 days, and then when does the axe fall then, or what happens to you? And it's really not the way government should be handled. So we appreciate a warm hand from you guys. We're in a community. This is the town of pleasant living. We just appreciate what you can do for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. I apologize in advance to Liani Pador. Right here. Okay. I got the first name.
Hi, my name is Lynn Patter,
There we go.
5851 Southwest 83rd Street. This is the 83rd Street gang right here. And I concur with what Denise said and what John Shaw said. This 90-day process. By December, I have my certified letter right here. You have it within 90 days to respond. By the way, by the beginning of December. Really? And they say in here you have to hire your own engineer, get your own plumbing, surveys. It doesn't seem reasonable to me. And again, I've lived here for close to 50 years now. I have worked in the court system. I was out of the Air Force. And I really appreciate your attentiveness to this problem, because it is a problem. And anything y'all can do for us, it's greatly appreciated. And I love my neighbors,
We do
and I love
discuss this
South
right
Miami.
after, but yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. And just to let you guys know, this discussion item is occurring immediately after public comment, so you won't have to wait too long. You're welcome. All right, Lee Jacobs is next on the list.
Good evening, everyone. Lee Jacobs, 6860 Southwest 77 Terrace. And I live in a neighborhood where the lots are small. It was like, I think it was zoned for shotgun houses, and you could buy 2 or 3 lots. So they're close together, 60 feet or so. So the house next door to me sold for over $1 million. And it's not a tear down, they gutted it. And so for a week, there were dumpsters coming. They tore out the walls, they tore up the concrete, jackhammered it, and took 7 dumpsters away in that week. And my wife called the city to see what they would allow, and we found out that the ordinance says they can work 5 days a week from 7 till 6 p.m., no work on weekends. And on Saturday that week, a cement truck came and started pumping concrete at 8 o'clock. We called code enforcement and the police. The police arrived about 45 minutes later, and the pour was complete when the police arrived. So the policeman said, well, they don't know the law, we don't do anything, and I'm fine with that. But the thing was, the officer told us that he would file a report to code enforcement. So next week, I called code enforcement to see if they got a report, and they didn't. And I asked code enforcement if there was a building permit at the house, and I never got an answer to that. Never called me back. So I called the mayor about 4 times, and he got the inspector to come, and he shut it down. And what I want to know, is there a standing order for the police to not get involved in code enforcement? Are they,
Yeah.
Probably they're not, right?
Yeah. If you want, I could direct the question to the city attorney.
Through the vice mayor.
Yes or no?
The city police is not a code enforcement board. They
Okay, I
enforce
understand.
criminal laws.
You're right. Okay, so I understand that, but could they file a complaint so that code enforcement would be notified to act on it?
They can pass along the complaint.
Yeah. That would help. But if they aren't going to do it, or if they don't want to, or they're too busy, why don't you hire another code enforcement officer to be on duty for Saturdays? Because Saturdays is when the chainsaws come out, when everything happens, and nothing can be done. I hope some of you will work on that. There's a space on weekends where they can do anything they want.
Yeah.
And it's about money, so if you can get something done on Saturday, a 5-6 day week is better. And there is an ordinance, it's a noise ordinance, I found out. And a cement truck with a pump is too much noise. There's nothing you can do about it, so you made the law, but it doesn't work. Do you understand? So what could you do about it?
No, thank you. We could definitely take it into consideration. Maybe we can discuss it in our commission comments as well.
Okay, thank you, that's all
Thank
I
you.
want. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Lee. All right, and I can't quite see everybody on Zoom, but does anybody on Zoom have their virtual hand raised, or would anybody like to speak?
Anyone on Zoom? Yeah.
Looks like Stefan Leal.
Yeah. Please,
Stefan Leal, you're recognized.
Please unmute yourself. Stefan, please unmute yourself.
Hello, can you hear me?
There you go. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Stefan Lidl. I'm 14931 and 164 Terrace. I'm a concerned citizen regarding this South Miami Park tree planting project. I'm a certified arborist and own a plant nursery. My kids play a lot of soccer and I spend a lot of time at this park. We've been particularly happy with the upgrades that have been provided to the park in the recent years. So we thank you guys for that. The plans for this project require these trees to be graded Florida Fancy. Based on my experience in the nursery industry, the prices given by the contractor seem inadequate to provide the city with the DBH, height, and spread of the trees being proposed in the documents. One example would be the pigeon plum. The specifications for this tree is 4-inch DBH, 16 feet tall, and a spread of 10 feet. I've confirmed with multiple local nurseries that the cost to purchase these trees with these requirements are roughly $2,000 to $3,000 each. This does not include installation or delivery. The contractor has quoted to furnish and install these trees at $1,200 each. There are multiple trees on the plant schedule that seem to have a similar problem. I'd just like to request that prior to the board award the contract, please confirm the contractor in writing that these trees being installed will meet the requirements as outlined in the plans, and that the trees being installed will not be substituted with lesser requirements or a different type of tree. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you, Stefan, and I'd be happy to pool that item just to have that question answered when it comes up. I believe it's number 1. Yeah, number 1. So it'll be our first resolution that we read. But thank you very much, Juan. Appreciate it. Is there, I know some people just arrived here. Was there anybody who did want to speak? You can sign up and still come up and speak. Otherwise, we could close public. Oh, go ahead.
Real quick, for the record, Javier Avignon with the law firm Bills and Sundberg. There's an item, a first reading ordinance item. I don't know if you prefer that I speak at that time. When that item comes up, it's probably more appropriate.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So seeing no other further comment, we will close public comment and move on to, ooh, I got a little lost here. Are we on
Discussion item?
discussion? Oh, yeah, of course. Yes, the discussion item that everybody came here for. All right, great. Alex, actually, if you don't mind coming up and teeing this off for us, it'd be great. Thank you.
Vice Mayor, while Alex is coming up to share a little bit of the background and the work that he's been doing on this, I wanted to put forward 2 things that the mayor certainly intended this board to consider as a way to maybe facilitate some assistance of this. Again, this situation is not related to our current septic to sewer project. These are projects that were done some back 25 years ago. Mayor Fernandez wanted to put forward a couple items. Ms. Martinez alluded to one of them, was that potentially the city could assist in an application to ask the Environmental Quality Control Board, the EQCB, at the county to provide a 3-year extension. So that was one ask that he was going to present to you. And certainly the second thing he would look for support from the commission would be that we would assist and identify any funds that could assist a homeowner with the issue of lateral installation. So those are 2 items for your consideration when you're deliberating. I'll certainly allow Alex to give you a background because he got engaged and involved in this matter, has been assisting in troubleshooting with Miami-Dade County.
All right, thank you. And Alex, you're recognized.
Thank you. Alex Munoz, Director of Public Works. The manager gave a great overview of what's going on there and what the solutions are. We have been in touch with Ms. Martinez, and she has been a great advocate, let me say, for herself and for our neighbors. I will admit I've worked with a lot of people over the years, and she knows this issue. She knows it better than we do. So the good news is we have been in communications with DERM, and they're very, very willing to cooperate, the county environmental agency. As you've heard, there is a requirement to connect when the sewer lines are in. The manager alluded to the years. It looks like these lines were late 90s, probably 1999. And then recently there was a trigger. There's some work being done on one of the lines, somebody connecting. So the department went out and looked at the greater area and found some residents that had not connected. Overall, actually, it appears, at least at preliminary review, it appears that there's about 169 properties in the city proper that might be in the same situation where they would have to connect. Doesn't mean they're all under enforcement, doesn't mean they all have a letter. They're at different, varying levels of having been communicated with by the county. In the case of these folks, there's also no lateral there, so technically they would have to do work in the right-of-way. That's just the way the systems were put in back then without lateral. So there's a line, but they don't have lateral, so they got to do the work on their own property plus on the public property. So we're working. The good news is I was actually meeting with the department yesterday, and they're working with us on doing exactly what the manager described and the mayor had described in terms of appealing on their behalf and we're talking about a time frame for that, that it would allow for sufficient time for folks to prepare. Our exemption doesn't prohibit, applying for an exemption doesn't prohibit anyone else from extending it further or going on their own, even when that one would expire potentially in the future. So I will tell you, knowing these folks, they're very willing to work with us, and they understand the difficulty that the current code imposes, the way it's written. Just requires that connection, and the 90 days, it's not something they came up with, and they did receive, I saw the letters, they received those letters. But like I said, we met with them, and they're very willing to work with us on that extension and making it a good period of time that's not 90 days. It's definitely a lot more than 90 days to allow for this issue to be dealt with.
Thank you very much. And before we open up discussion amongst ourselves, does anyone have questions for staff? Commissioner Rodriguez?
Director, so do we know what the cost implication is to the resident?
No, it depends, right? Everybody, property is going to be different. You got to get a plumbing permit. You got to go to water and sewer, get an allocation letter. So you got to get also approval from water and sewer. You got to pay the fees. So there's design involved. You have to hire a contractor. There's a lot involved that goes into this. So no, it'll be different for every property.
Okay. And if for the public space, obviously then we would have to figure out what the cost would be times 169.
Yeah, if we were to pursue something on as the manager mentioned and the mayor had mentioned about pursuing a grant, then yes, we would have to get an idea. But it would be, we have to figure out how to approach it, right? Because it's private property, plus it's the public property side, to figure out how people want to do it. Some folks are going to want to do it themselves. Maybe some will say, I don't want to do anything, right? If there's another way of dealing with that. But it typically is a private property matter. But
And my last question is, how does it look so far in your discussions with the county as far as getting the extension?
They were very positive. I mean, ultimately, it goes to the board, the EQCB, the Environmental Quality Control Board. Ultimately, it goes to them, but with a recommendation from the department. So that's important. Specifically, the Durham director provides a recommendation so that would, something that we're working with together, it's going to make it a lot better.
Okay, thank you.
And I believe Commissioner Benich was next, and then we'll go to Commissioner Kaye. Oh, just if you don't mind just letting us get through these initial questions, and then.
It says by December, you have to acknowledge that you got the letter. Are there going to be fines levied? That's what they said.
Right. I can't speak for the department. Obviously, it's a different entity, but they understand if there's an appeal, they're not going to pursue those fines, and they haven't done that in the past, just based on past practice.
All right. Thank you. And then Commissioner Benich?
Okay, just so that people who may be listening, watching, whatever, can you explain what the difference is between what we're doing right now, which I believe the tube is running straight down the street and it's got all these little things, so you just have to hook up your house to what's there?
Right.
Is it, I understand, but I'm asking the director if we could please just let the conversation happen this way? Thank you.
So yeah, the project that we're doing now, it's a septic to sewer project there in the south part of South Miami near Dante Fasel Park. For those of you that may not know, in the audience, is the city is putting in a septic to sewer conversion project. In this case, we are doing the laterals as the city, so the property owners only have to come to the property line and connect. In the case of these 1999 lines, it appears as if the laterals are not there, so that's where I mentioned there was an extra burden for those homeowners because you have the lateral issue, which that's the importance of finding a grant or some way of resolving that would be great.
And was that common during the time that was done?
Yeah, apparently, yes. There wasn't a requirement at the time to do the laterals.
Okay, so then, in fairness, I'm asking him these questions because I think everybody more than just you guys should know this information. So the way the sewer runs, you've got a big thing over here, then every street has a line that comes down. They have a line that comes down, but nothing that opens up that line to their home. Okay, so we would be looking at kind of a double whammy for the people that had this done in the 90s that didn't connect in the last 20-something years.
Right.
Do we know if within the last 20-something years, has it just been dormant from the county? And all of a sudden, just like with, like the business taxes and all these other things, and all of a sudden one person does it, and it's like fury.
Right. So the way it's been described to us, and Ms. Martinez knows because she's received those emails and asked the questions. She asked them before I did, actually. which is what triggered this. And so there was a local home that connected. And so when they were going through that process, they looked at the greater area. So what Durham has explained, what the folks there have explained to us is exactly that. When they get applications or something in the area that triggers a greater review, they'll look at the greater area. The part that we're still trying to figure out is, and we asked those questions, both of us together, is why are some folks getting it and others not getting it? Because as I mentioned earlier, there's apparently 169 properties.
Yeah, because if they've never gotten any notice whatsoever from when that line was shot down their street.
Right.
You know, I know that in West Miami, and I say this all the time, it's just because I grew up there, so I lived it. Residents had a certain amount of time that they had to comply. So the line went down your street, and you had to come hook or crook, connect within, I'm going to make up a number, 3 years, you had to have the connection done. So did that happen here at all? Or did they just get essentially ignored until this thing kicked it off? Do we know?
So some folks would have connected on their own. I don't know. We don't know if there was any prior enforcement. I haven't seen that. So some folks would have connected on their own, and others just never got noticed. That's the part that's hard to understand because it's been so long. 1999.
Okay, and then lastly, I'm sorry, I'm taking all the time. When we say we're looking at grants and what have you, we're talking about grants to cover their private costs?
Potentially, that's what a grant would be for, yes. Unrelated to this, when we were just talking in one of our regular grants meetings a few weeks ago, we did see a grant exactly for this type of activity. So it looks like some of this does exist out there. But yeah, it would be for homeowners, probably, I'm speculating, so we'd have to see exactly how the grant program works, but probably for the homeowners to benefit from the grant if the city applies. That's the one that we saw.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. And Commissioner Kai?
Director, out of the 169 homes, do we know how many are connected already?
No, those are the ones that would have to connect.
So all 169 have not
Yeah.
been connected?
Yeah, there's
Besides
a-
the one that triggered it, let's say, right?
Correct.
Is that
There's
what we're assuming here?
About 100, yeah, the universe is, that are not connected.
169?
Yeah, based on the research that they did, and they're doing this research countywide, not just for us. But it
So-
looks like there's about 169. we just got the list, I want to vet it to make sure it's accurate, but that was the number, yes.
So what we're saying is that in the 1999, there was a lateral that ran right across the street, but there was no Y to connect to the actual houses themselves or to the property line itself?
Correct, to the property line.
Okay. For the board meeting, can we provide a letter from the city urging them to approve this so they can get an extension on? Is that something that we can do as a city? Maybe I'm asking the attorney or the city manager on what we can do as collectively as a commission to write a letter or give our support to our community?
I think what we would intend to do, if that's the direction, that we would apply on behalf, and by virtue of that, obviously, that's, and signal support, right, if the city, but we need to kind of drill down on that as to what the mechanism is. Can we do it holistically for all of those residents as a city, or support them individually? But we would signal our support, obviously.
To the manager's point about holistically, that was my conversation with the department was exactly that, was us applying on their behalf. They were very open to doing exactly that and getting the connection exemption for X number of years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll move for that, and hopefully our colleagues will all get together for that. But last question, and this is more for our residents. I just did a lateral in a property that I own as well, and it was slightly difficult, right? The process of getting a survey, getting civil plans, having a connection from the sewer, that I had to deal with Coral Gables at that moment, and Miami-Dade Water Sewer. So it was very complicated. I understand what you guys, and I know how much I paid. Saying that, I'm also on the board of the Green Corridor. If you guys are not aware of what the Green Corridor is, a PACE program. So when we get down the pipeline and we have to figure out how to make, on our side, do, which I believe we should, or somebody with the county or WASA, once we provide the laterals, the connection opportunities, whether it's cash, whether it's a loan from a bank, or if we use the PACE programs, that is a tax initiative that's on your tax basis, and so we can use Y-Green. There's a whole bunch of different systems that are out there that they'll pay for you, they'll use the contractors, and it just goes on your tax lien. When you sell it, it gets paid off, or you pay it off little by little. Just so you guys know, there's opportunities out there. And if you guys want, I'm talking to the public, if you guys want to reach out to me, we can talk about that, because I am on the board, and I understand all the different opportunities there. So let's just get the ball started to make sure that we understand who's affected, how we can make the extensions, and then figure out how we're going to connect the laterals, and then help you guys out on actual making the connection, the private connection to it. I think it's worth it. I think it's environmentally friendly. We're all big supporters of that here on the commission of septic to sewer. So luckily it's already there. We just got to figure out how to connect it, and with your patience, we'll make sure we'll get there.
Yes, and if I may, through the chair, we will reach out based on, I'm anticipating your action. Based on today, we'll reach out to the department and the residents' concerns about the fines, and, you know, letting them know we'll be pursuing this, so they can obviously put a stay on that.
Right. Thank you, and I do believe we have a majority of the commission in support of supporting the extension. Is that right? Okay. So what type of direction, any other details in that direction that you require?
No,
Yeah,
unless the attorney has something else.
just to clarify, what you're saying is that you would want the city to explore applying to the EQCB to obtain the extension?
Yeah, well.
Or simply to support their request for an extension?
Yeah, I think that, oh, sorry. The what?
Vice Mayor.
Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
As the director said, I mean, it's our responsibility to protect our residents, and we should apply and through us for them. That's my view, and, you know, show the county that we're in support of our residents to give an extension. I think 90 days is crazy to just throw this on people, especially during the holiday season.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's,
Is there,
it's like Grinch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
To Tony's question, I just want to reiterate that the mayor had asked me to relay, you know, his message as to, he would hope that the commissioner would support us applying on behalf of. So I just want to share that that's exactly what he would put forward if he was here, that we would submit an application on behalf of.
All right.
So do we, I'll move the motion. to-
Yeah.
Before we do that, I just want a quick question.
Well, I don't, sorry, go ahead, Commissioner Kai, quick question.
So, Mr. Attorney, is there other options that we can provide? I'm sure the mayor already worked on this a lot already, but is there any other options that we can do besides applying on their behalf? That might be more beneficial, that might be more, I don't know, I'm just asking, because I don't know that process.
Yeah, it's a good question. Unfortunately, the law is that they have to connect within 90 days of having it available, of having it. That's just what the law is. We would have to seek a variance of that, which is how you get an extension. We did it recently with Sub-Area K. We did it a year and a half ago. Actually,
sent it
even
to
a
me.
year ago or so. Yeah, and we were able to get some time for our residents there. This is slightly different just because it's been in place for so long, but I think it's a doable request. This is the most efficient way. The only other option would be to change the law.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, and, sorry, just, we have applied that direction. Did anybody have any questions about that in particular in terms of supporting? Because there is a second question that the mayor had, which was if we would be willing to also go out for grant money for this as well, or to apply for grant money for
Yeah,
this.
and that we would have to do a little bit more work to
Yeah.
identify what that is and how it would look, and so we can certainly share, as we take a look at opportunities, share that with you further. But I think in concept, it was like, if that was an interest in pursuing that was the second
Okay.
mayor's ask.
And sorry, I believe Commissioner Bonich had a question too?
I have a question for clarification, and then I just have a comment for the Alex Munoz in the back. The question is, I think that we need to be careful when we're having this conversation, because we're talking about the T and the private property at the same time. When this was done, the city was not responsible for that T connection. So I think without knowing what that cost implication is, we have to be very careful with our words so that we don't end up in a position where we have promised something that we do not know that we can deliver. So I think that acting prudently would be in everyone's best interest. I say, we ask for that extension, and then, together, however it gets done, we understand what we should be responsible for based on what the reality of the situation is versus what we would maybe like to do, and then what the homeowner would then be responsible for. And then to the director, I say, again, the city of West Miami did this, and they did it in a much different way than what I am seeing happened here. The city of West Miami actually helped their residents. There was an entire program in place. And I urge you to call their public works, because there's probably still people there that were there at that time, and ask them how they did it, because it was more of a one-stop shop. They didn't have to go to water, they didn't have to go to here, they didn't have to go to all these things. It all was one package. So it was a very interesting way of doing that. So I said, just reach out to them, because they might have words of wisdom
We can
for
definitely
us.
look into that. Your comments are right about the laterals, first of all. We'll look into that. I was just describing the process of a typical connection. And I left out abandon the septic tank, which is the last part of the process.
Perfect.
Thank you.
And Commissioner Rodriguez?
I don't know if this is a question for the city manager, for the city attorney, but I think, so what the mayor proposed, I agree with both, but I think we should put them as two separate items. So the important part right now is to get the 90-day extension, so the residents can feel comfortable that they're not being pressured by the city. And Ms. Martinez, right? I mean, you said it right. Just getting the WASA permit alone is gonna take more, 6 months probably. So I would say we do that part first, getting the extension, working on their extension, and then bringing back the item, I guess, as far as going for the grant and all that, you know, once you have more information on what needs to be done for that.
Yeah, so I like that. Would the board agree to direction that basically states, you know, we would like to apply for them and support the extension, and have you come back to us with grant opportunities and how that would be split up based on more information that we could gather? Is that acceptable to everybody? Okay, great.
And
Thank
just
you.
for point of clarification, if I may, Vice Mayor?
Yeah.
Is we'll be seeking more than a 90-day extension.
Yeah.
Okay.
3 year, well.
3 year or
3 year?
do we?
I think that's fair.
We'll see what they're
Yes.
willing to support, but yes, that would be a goal.
Sorry, through the.
Yeah, sure.
We're giving our residents 5 years, right, on the septic to sewer?
Yes.
So, I mean, we should.
Yeah, I just wanted
We should go-
to
yeah.
make sure that it's going to definitely be more than 90 days.
Okay.
All right, great. Thank you very much,
Thank
and thank you, everybody, for coming. I'm sorry that you're going through this. We're supporting you as best as we can. Thank you very much. Next is to the board and committee appointments. I believe there's a board appointment from Mayor Fernandez. If we could just read that into the record, please.
Yes. Monica Soko Rodriguez has been appointed by Mayor Fernandez to the Green Task Force for a 2-year term ending November 18, 2027. Erica Hubbs has been appointed by Mayor Fernandez to the Historic Preservation Board for a 2-year term ending November 18, 2027.
Thank you very much. Moving on to the consent agenda items. I was going to see if anybody wanted to discuss anything, but we did get a comment from public hearing on consent agenda item 1. I was curious, city manager, if you had any details on that we might want to discuss, or?
Yeah, but Vice Mayor, what I would say is obviously the item, the vendor would have to perform as specified. So obviously, that's something that the department would monitor as far as their project. So there's specs that they have to abide by. And so we would ensure that they would stay within those specs.
Okay, thank you. And is that satisfactory for everybody? Does anybody want to discuss consent agenda item 1 or 2? Okay, could I have a motion to
I need to
approve?
read them.
Oh,
I need to read them.
Yeah, to read them in the record, sorry.
Yes, item 1, a resolution of the Mayor and City Commission of the City of South Bend, Florida, selecting and awarding a contract to V Engineering Corp. for a new tree planting in the amount of $84,050, together with a $10,000 contingency for a total project cost and amount not to exceed $94,050, pursuant to invitation to bid number PR 2026-01. Item 2, a resolution of the Mayor and City Commission of the City of South Bend, Florida, approving a change order pursuant to contract for construction with Mario's Painting and Construction, Inc. for Gibson Bethel Community Center floor replacement and miscellaneous maintenance project in amount $18,733.44.
Thank you very much. And do we have a motion to approve those items?
Yeah, move the motion, I'll move the motion for both, for consent.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Bonish,
Sorry, I was discombobulated. Yes.
Commissioner Kaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Rodriguez,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Corey.
Yes.
Consent agenda passed 4-0.
All right. Thank you. And I was thinking maybe we could take some of these items out of order to address some of the people in the audience here. Which one was it? Oh, sorry. 6 and 7. We have a public hearing for that, but the applicant wishes to defer. Would we be able to open up the public hearing to see if anybody wishes to speak on that item?
If I may, we should not open the public hearing. If people want to speak, they're gonna have to come back. The application wasn't quite ready.
Okay.
We should see if there's anyone in the audience first.
Okay. Is there anyone in audience here for items 6 and 7? Okay.
Great.
So, would anybody like to make a motion to defer these items?
Do we need,
It would be a deferral to a date certain to December 2nd.
December 2nd, yeah.
I'll move that.
I'll second.
All right.
To December 2nd for both items?
Yeah. second.
Okay,
Both 6 and 7, yeah.
okay, let me get them, Commissioner Bonish,
Yes.
Commissioner Kaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Rodriguez,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Corey.
Yes.
Both items deferred to December 2nd.
All right. And Mr. City Attorney, is it okay if we took 9 and 11 together?
Yes, those are the two SOMI paddle.
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
I think, hang on, I believe it's.
8.
8.
8, sorry, 8 and 11, yeah, no worries. Yeah,
Yeah, we need to do 8 first,
okay,
as long as we do it in that order.
okay, perfect.
But the public hearing can serve.
All right.
So item 8.
Yes.
Item 8, a resolution of the Mayor City Commission of the City of South Miami, Florida, holding the second public meeting required under Section 255.065(3)C Florida statutes and making the public interest determination to proceed with the unsolicited proposal from Somi Padal Center LLC for a Padal Center on the rooftop of the City of South Miami Municipal Parking Garage, authorizing and directing the city manager to proceed with negotiation of a comprehensive agreement for the project.
Thank you very much. And Mr. City Attorney, if you don't mind giving some background on this?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. So the item number 8 before you is the public interest determination item. You had the first public meeting at the last commission meeting 2 weeks ago. You are now having the second public meeting under Section 255.065(3)C. In order to make the public interest determination, the recitals in your resolution detail what those benefits are, as does the memo. There's been a public interest analysis in accordance with the statute, and benefits to the public have been identified, including the benefits themselves, the financial structure and economic efficiencies to be achieved by the proposal, the qualifications and experience of the private entity that is submitting the proposal, and their ability to perform the project's compatibility with surrounding infrastructure, and any public comments that were advanced at the first public meeting, which there were none. So that is what is before you. It is a public meeting. You should probably take any comment if there happens to be any comment. And if you have any questions, we can answer those.
Thank you. This is now open to public hearing for anyone who would like to speak. All right, seeing no one in the public speaking, does the commission wish to discuss this item? Oh, is there anybody on Zoom who would like to speak as well?
Please raise your virtual hand.
Seeing no one on Zoom, would the commission like to discuss this item? Okay.
No, this is the second resolution. It's a new resolution, but it's the same concept as before. I would ask that if there is a motion and you want to move forward, that the motion include that you've evaluated the public interest factors, and that you determine it to be in the public interest, and that you direct the city manager to proceed with this, with the negotiations as an unsolicited proposal without bidding the item.
Oh, that's a mouthful for a motion. Who wants to take that one?
What he said.
Okay.
If I may, really quick through the Vice Mayor.
Yeah, no problem.
To the city, well, there.
Yeah, I'll mention that.
To the city, if I recall correct, the last time we read this, there were 3 options as far as like the fee structure. So we ended up going with the 18,000 for the use of the 5 courts, or the 15%, whichever
Yeah,
greater.
Commissioner, that's going to be the next item, which comes right
Okay.
after this.
Okay.
Yeah, and we can get into that.
Okay.
This is really about the direction to the manager to proceed with the process.
Then I'll move the motion to proceed with the item.
Okay. Any second?
I'll second.
All right.
Commissioner Rodriguez?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaye?
Yep.
Commissioner Moniz?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Corey?
Yes.
Item passed 4-0.
Wonderful. And if we could move to item 11 as well, so that we can wrap up the Padel issues.
Yes. Item 11, an ordinance of the Mayor and City Commissioner of the City of South Bend, Florida, approving and authorizing a franchise and comprehensive agreement with Somi Padel Center LLC pursuant to Section 255.065 Florida statutes for a Padel Center on the rooftop of the City of South Bend Municipal Parking Garage, providing for the required statutory findings and authorizations prior to execution of the comprehensive agreement.
Thank you very much. This is also a public hearing item. Anyone who would like to speak, please come to the podium or raise your virtual hand. Seeing no one, we'll close the public speaking. Would the commission like to discuss this item?
So I believe Mr. Rodriguez had a question about the fee structure.
So, and I apologize, because on 8 in the analysis report, it shows that fee structure. So it's also on 11, so that was the confusion. But, so that's the one that, at the end of the day, we've moved forward to go with, or we're voting on that now?
So what you are voting on now is the first reading of 2 readings of the actual entering into an agreement and on the form of the agreement. And the form of the agreement, to answer your question, it's the greater of an $18,000 a month flat fee or 15% of gross revenues.
Okay.
That's what is in there.
All right.
And then there is one additional item I just wanted to bring to your attention that is not in your agreements. You guys had all seen the agreement up to now. The mayor wanted to introduce a termination for convenience after 3 years. So I would ask if the applicant has anything, if the proposer has anything to say on that, yeah. With a notice provision of some amount of time, either whether it's 90 days, 120 days, or 180 days.
Good evening, Commissioners and Mr. Manager. Obviously, we would like to have enter into a negotiation period where we discuss this. We feel that just as we're kind of doing this in public, which probably isn't the right way to do it, but we feel that 3 is a little bit limiting. We do understand that you want to preserve the opportunity to have access to your parking as the city grows. And so I think we're pretty close on this. And so as we cross tonight's hurdle and we enter into negotiations, I think this is something that will be hammered out.
So are we comfortable including that or leaving it off till second reading?
I think 3 years is a little tight. I mean, you got to give them some time to grow. I don't.
What I would ask is for direction generally, and then we can, the manager can enter into negotiations with the
It's not on
proposer
there
and bring
now,
you back at
so
second reading.
If we just are granted the direction, then we can have this negotiation, and I appreciate your sentiment.
Commissioner Benich?
Thank you. I think if we leave it on at 3 on paper right now and start that as where we have our conversation, we're better than having nothing in there. So I would go with having 3. Seems like they're okay having that in there to begin negotiations. We will be seeing this again. So hopefully we'll see something that works for everyone at the second go round. but at least this gets the ball rolling in that direction.
So I'm fine with that to open up negotiations. Are you as well? Commissioners? Okay. So then, yeah, can I entertain a motion then to approve with that?
With that change,
Yeah,
3
with that
years with
modification.
180 days of notice.
Yeah.
As of right now,
Wait.
and then we'll enter into those
So
negotiations.
I'm sorry,
No, no,
so
please.
The change is to 3 years, but what is it currently right now?
Nothing.
on
It is,
paper?
there is no termination for
There is no
convenience option.
termination.
This would introduce a termination for convenience option,
Okay,
available to the city after 3 years, according to what we're discussing right now, with 180 days notice before the termination is effective.
And if we, city manager, I believe you.
Yeah, just thank you, Vice Mayor. Just to add a little bit of color, because the reason for it, and the mayor had brought back, he had spoken to me, is obviously this is a parking garage. It was intended to be used as a parking garage. We had delayed activation of the rooftop while we were doing the parking study and analyzing, what's coming. And so that provision is for that reason, that we would have an ability in some time, obviously, I think there's an appreciation to allow to recover the investment, but that there would be a time period where we have that ability in the event that we see that things are, hopefully, if we need it, that's a good sign. And that's the background behind this particular term, with enough notice provision that would allow that to happen. So I just wanted to add some additional color to that.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Benich?
Commissioner Rodriguez, is there another number you'd be more comfortable putting in there? Are you okay with starting at 3? Because you're not looking okay.
no,
You're like,
no, I'm just thinking, okay, I'm good to move it forward to start negotiations.
okay.
All right. Wonderful. Thank you. So did we already have a motion? No motion.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
All right, thank you very much. And,
Well, we have to vote.
yeah, I know.
Commissioner Cayenne,
Yes.
Commissioner Rodriguez,
Yes.
Commissioner Bonich,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Corey.
Yes,
Item passes 4-0.
and thank you very much for.
Thank you,
giving us
Commissioners,
that.
and thank you, Mr. Manager.
I think we
great.
have the
Yeah, number 9, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'd like to call up
Number-
number 9, right? Is that
Number
what it is? Yeah, number 9, please, because I
Number
believe we
9.
have some people here for that item.
Okay. Item 9, an ordinance of the mayor and city commissioner of the city of South Miami, Florida, amending sections 20-8.2, 20-8.3, 20-8.4, and 20-8.8 of Article 8, Transit Supported Development District of the Land Development Code to revise regulations relating to student housing.
Thank you very much. This is also a public hearing item, so anyone who'd like to speak, please come to the podium or raise your virtual hand.
What, yeah, I believe I,
Would you
sorry,
like me to have
Mayor,
staff
Is
go
Mr.
first?
Alvarez
Is Mark?
nearby? If not, I can give a synopsis.
Yeah,
He's here? Okay.
Oh,
he's here.
okay.
They're looking for him.
We're just waiting on the staff update. Should we move on to another item, maybe? Okay.
We can sing
Um,
the Jeopardy song too, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, there he,
Oh, okay, great. Come on down, Mark.
Cool.
Good evening. Has it been introduced already?
Huh?
The item's been introduced?
Yeah, was it read into the record?
Did you read
yeah.
it?
Oh, it was, that's right, yeah.
Oh. Okay. Sorry, I'm late. Could you put up, we have a presentation, so this is for the student housing ordinance, first reading. And as soon as we're on. So this is for first reading of student housing as a differentiated use, a residential use in the TSDD. Is there something wrong with it? There's parts of it that I'm missing. Okay. Well, that's not good. So the reasons why are to address the demand for student housing, which we find living near University of Miami that we do have a large demand for student housing. We have the ideal place for students to live, being next to the transit station, the Metro Rail station. We will provide additional users to support mobility alternatives
from the beginning in the downtown, we want to establish a large number of, a high density of people in the downtown to support the businesses, to support transit, to support other mobility alternatives. Very often when we try to have other mobility alternatives, transit or anything else, we don't have enough people who use it. The idea that we could introduce a large body of young people who are more willing, more adaptable to those would be something that we want to do. And finally, we look at this as we've had a lot of discussions about student housing within the neighborhoods of South Miami. This is, instead of a restrictive approach, this is a supply side approach. In other words, we would provide the supply of appropriate student housing for that demand. And hopefully we would relieve the neighborhoods by doing that of the amount of student housing that's happening in the houses in our neighborhoods. What student housing is basically it's a co-living arrangement so that we would have apartments basically that are geared towards students having more rooms than is typically found in apartments, market rate apartments, and it would still have all the facilities. It would have a kitchen and bathroom and bedrooms and a shared living room. One of the key differences would be that, of course, it would be rented by the room. So we have a few goals in creating this ordinance. It's a little bit more than just establishing the use. We wanted to establish it as something that's different from regular residential. We want to have criteria to establish it in a way that we can say there's a student housing and we enforce it in a way that it stays student housing. We want to limit the location of student housing. We have concerns about it being a more intense use. We want that use, but we want to locate it carefully so that we don't impact the neighborhoods. And we have to establish residential density. One of the things we'll discuss tonight is how we establish residential density for student housing. It is a little bit different, and we have, again, it's going to be a little more intense. It has more students, more unrelated people per apartment than would be typically expected in multifamily residential. We would like to also regulate vehicle parking. That will be a lot of discussion tonight too. It's a different situation than we find in multifamily residential. I am so sorry. We would require also the provision of bicycle parking. Again, we're looking at the alternatives for mobility, and we know that we would establish a type of residential use that has younger people who are more willing to use those alternatives. Excuse me. So the definition in section 20-8.2 and 20-8.4, we have established a definition for what student housing is. Between that definition and the uses, the permitted uses, we have established a definition. We call it, in quotes, off-campus student apartment. So this would be the actual name of the use. It is, again, we're establishing this as a residential land use. That's important for a comprehensive plan, that this will be residential and not a commercial use, as a hotel would be a commercial use, because this is not temporary housing of that nature. It's for college students, it's only for college students. It's not for anybody else affiliated with a college. It's strictly for students. It is a co-housing type of a unit, which again is different in that it's multiple unrelated people that are paying for the room essentially within an apartment, and therefore different from multifamily. They typically have individual bedrooms for each student. They often have individual bedrooms and en-suite bathrooms going with those rooms. That's not necessary though, they may have bathroom out in the hallway of the apartment. That's common to the apartment. Typically, they will always have common living rooms and common kitchens. Each unit must be secured by a locked door, so this is not a dormitory. A dormitory would be the room that goes into a common hallway, and that's it. This would be something that looks like an apartment unit that has individual bedrooms. It still has a locking door to the building's hallway, but each room is for an individual student. We can allow it as a mixed use in the TODA sub-district of the TSDD. We'll get to this in a minute. We are also looking at certain places in the TSNA, which is a residential only sub-district, but we would still allow ancillary uses to that residential use, the same as we do often with residential uses where we allow a small shop that's expressly for the people that live in that building. It would be necessary that, and those would be single-use buildings in the TSNA because we don't allow mixed use in the TSNA. It would have to be under unified management, which is mostly similar to apartment buildings anyway. The rental agreements would be for a maximum of a year. A little different, most rental agreements are for a year, but this one would be strictly controlled that it cannot go over 1 year because we want it to be term, we'd like it to be term to term, but we're going to go for a year, and that establishes that person comes, they live for a year, maybe they transfer out the next year, so we want to accommodate that. And the lease, they're very different from multifamily. The lease is for each one bedroom. So in other words, it's a lease for each bedroom that is under unified management for the building. So it's not like somebody who owns an apartment and co-leases it. It's different in that way, and that's a very significant difference. So I wanted to go over a little bit of what we have in our zoning code already. I explained what the definition is, and I explained how the permitted uses are. There are some very fine differences between how we've established multifamily and what we've established as the definition of family for the rest of the districts in the zoning code. So we establish multifamily housing as being pretty much linked to a family. However, the definition of family, when we were actually making the changes to the code for the downtown and for some other areas of the code, and we were doing the comprehensive plan amendments, we looked at the definition of family that's in our code, and it's barely it was at that time almost unconstitutional considering now what we have to include as families. So there are, there's the yellow, green, and sort of magenta colors of highlighter. So when we define families, the traditional is 2 or more persons who are related by blood, marriage, or adoption. But then we also must include a group of unrelated individuals, up to 3 individuals, would still be a family that could be in a multifamily dwelling. That gets very close to the definition of students. In fact, you could have students up to 3 living in a multifamily. And this is part of why we wanted to start establishing a definition, an actual use that's student housing, so we could better control it, better regulate it, and work with it, because we have a lot that can happen in between the lines. None of these would still allow student housing because it wouldn't allow the rental per room, I'm sorry. But I want to walk you through all of definitions. And then the final definition on that is that it could be a group of more than 3 people who are unrelated. And that is a very loose definition. That's the last part of it. And again, we want to establish student housing as an actual use. And the last piece of it really is that we rent it by the room, but not as a sublease. We're renting it by the room from the unified management. So again, I wanted to give you that as a contrast because we may have to talk about that a little bit later. The places where we are going to permit it, again, there's a lot of sensitivity. We recognize that the use person for person is a little more intense. If we do have students using a building, they may travel a lot more, probably do. And again, we want them to travel on scooters and bicycles and rental bicycles and transit, but it's still more activity on the street. We want that, but we want to control the location, just as when we talked about the TSDD and we wanted to concentrate the most intense and most dense parts around the Metro Rail station and very carefully treat the parts around that are adjacent to the neighborhoods. So we were only allowing it in the TODA in general, that's the magenta area. But as we worked through the ordinance, I think heading towards the Planning Advisory Board, we realized that there are also areas that were always thought of actually for student housing, but they are TSNA, they're the neighborhood fringe. And we wanted to have those areas accessible to the university. And in particular, there are some, you can see them along Red Road. We have two sites where they are across the street from the university, and they're absolutely a good location, just as Red Road Commons, for student housing. So we've created an exception on this to allow TSNA, but again, controlling it much more carefully. Its density would be lower just as a TSNA is, and we would require that it be directly adjacent to a university property, in other words, abutting the property or across the street. So we do have an allowance for TSNA as well. That wouldn't work for most of what's south of 74th Street. That would not work for what's west of 62nd Avenue, but it does focus on those properties. So again, I actually went over all this, so I won't belabor it, but it's a residential use, it's a term use, it's not temporary, term meaning it's a year. So it's differentiated from temporary or seasonal residence rented by the individual students by the room and secured by a common hallway. We would have, just as we do with apartments, we don't want extremely small rooms, so we have established in this code a minimum size room of 100 square feet. That would include any en-suite components. Yes, Commissioner?
100 square feet, maybe I'm stupid, that's 10 by 10.
Yes, it is.
And you're saying 10 by 10 including a bathroom?
No,
Oh, okay, I'm like, what?
Right.
I mean,
Each
10 by 10
bedroom,
is
yeah.
tiny.
We
so-
expect them to be larger, and we want to establish a minimum. If we want to have a discussion about the actual numbers, we can do that.
Yeah,
I know
of
most
course we do.
bedrooms, most market bedrooms are about 200, like 13 by 13.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah, because 100 square feet,
yeah, it's tiny.
that's a closet.
So, what's more, and I think there's going to be a number of places along the discussion tonight where the numbers, we could refine them a little more between first and second reading, but we want to establish a framework that does certain things. But I agree with you, it's a very small room. People once lived in rooms that size, but not anymore. Anyway, so as far as the density, the method here is that we need to tie, what we needed to do is establish a density that works with the number of rooms, because we have what we typically see in multifamily is going to be a mix of studio, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3+ bedrooms. Typically, it seems that mostly those come in around 10% 10% efficiency, 45% of them will be 1s, 45% will be 2 bedrooms, and the remaining small amount, 10%, would be 3 or more bedrooms. Again, the numbers are general. We could refine this a little bit more as we go through it, but what's most important here is to establish a link between the rooms. We need to do the student housing by the rooms, because we have generally units that have 4, and the sweet spot seems to be 4 bedrooms, maybe 3. There's some 5s, there might even be 6s, very few 1s. So we need to create a link, because we're dealing with different, not apples and oranges, but different kinds of apples. But the important part is that we have a link that comes back, because we need to, as a residential use, we need to include this as part of our analysis in the comprehensive plan. And we don't want to send to the state an idea of including rooms as our density. We want to convert it and then send it as a dwelling unit density. So again, we may have more discussions about this, but we did an equivalence of the 100 and 200 units per acre, 200 for the TODA with bonuses, 100 for the TSNA, and we get to about 400 units an acre. So again, we may refine these a little more. It depends on what we think the actual mix of units are that we see typically for market rate residentials. Parking, this has been probably the most difficult topic. There are a couple of things that we should cover. So we started this ordinance traveling at a quarter of a unit, a quarter of a space per room. And again, we decided it was better to, instead of counting by the unit, by the dwelling units, but go by the room. On the planning board's recommendation, that is before you in Exhibit B as one half a space per bedroom. One of the things that we observe is that the TODA, the core district of the TSDD, has a very aggressive parking requirement, aggressive meaning very low cars per unit, and that's actually above, that's more parking than
multifamily residential requires in the TODA. The thing that we want to avoid, and I'm saying this because staff is recommending something a little different than the PAB. The thing that we want to avoid is, I presented the definitions of multifamily residential and student residential to you because one of the things that can easily happen is we could have, driven by the parking rates, we could have developments that shop whether they're residential or student housing. And we would like to not drive that because of a parking difference. It may still happen, but we don't want to be the cause of that. We're driving it because we have, right now, if this ordinance, if Exhibit B were to go forward, it would require almost double the amount of parking for student housing as for multifamily residential. And there may be, we can go, I've heard arguments for both, that it is a more intense use, but on the other hand, everybody that we've talked to says that the parking will rent separately from the unit. So it creates another aspect of this that it's somewhat self-selecting and the market can be controlled internally within that management. That gets us into a situation where we're not really exactly sure what that rate is. So it's not something that's well documented nationally, and where we can find examples, they're not in urban areas, and the ones that are in urban areas, we can't really find good examples because they mix in with the urban area. So for comparison, Miami-Dade does have a parking rate for university and college. It's a little different. It's not exactly focused on this kind of residential, but they're using 2 spaces per 3 bedrooms. They include that also for dormitories, so it's basically 2/3. The city of Miami has a co-housing, which this is co-housing, and they use half a space per bedroom. We looked at Coral Gables in North Miami, but they basically treat it as multifamily, so it's more typical 1 car for an efficiency, 1 car for a 1 bedroom, 2, or some fraction of 2, above 2 or below 2 for 2 bedrooms. So those, they don't really cover this. Again, typically the student housing, the parking is rented separately from the rooms, and that creates a very different situation for us. So finally, we're recommending, as the staff recommendation is for it to be pretty much the same as what is for multifamily in the TODA. This way we don't have that sort of cross-shopping between residential and student housing. So we put it at 1 space per up to 4 bedrooms. After 4 bedrooms, a 5-bedroom would just go to 2 spaces. To keep it simple, we're probably providing a very strong disincentive for 5 bedrooms. Commissioner, did you have a question? Okay.
Yeah.
And finally, bicycle parking is part of this. We do encourage these uses to have, sufficient shared bicycle spaces, so we're requiring 1 per 15 bedrooms, which I can honestly tell you we looked at Coral Gables, and although they didn't have a separate parking ordinance for student housing, they did have student housing bicycle parking, and there was something like 1 per 50. About 3 times ours. I said it the wrong way. And then we're recommending 1 per 15 bedrooms, and then 1 outdoor bicycle rack for visitors at 1 per 15 dwelling units, which is very close, which is about the same as our TODA requirements, and then 1 indoor storage space per 4 bedrooms, again, for visitors mostly, but maybe some overflow. So we're really encouraging this kind of development to have a lot of bicycle parking. We do have in the TSDD an equivalency factor for scooter and motorcycle spaces at 5%, and we've increased that to 10%, again, trying to encourage for parking to have a different mix of vehicles. And again, anyone in Miami, we see a lot of people riding scooters and so forth. We know that works. So that's it. That's for the presentation, and I know there's a lot of questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And before we open to public comment, commissioners, any questions of staff? I believe Commissioner Kaya was first. Go ahead.
I have a few questions. The allocation that we're doing for student housing right now in the Todd District is everything that was in magenta, right? Can we pull up the thing again, please? Sorry. So that allocation is through Commerce Lane, all the way across, everything that's in magenta.
Correct.
So I have a concern that if we open this all up to that district, that we can be inundated with student housing in the area. I'm not a big fan of that. So what I would propose is that we put a certain distance from the metro station and from 57th Avenue. I mean, there's only one or two locations that are TDNA anyway. But from the metro station, that we allocate a certain distance, because I personally, colleagues, I do not want student housing everywhere in that district. If there's spot opportunities and they come for variances, they can come to the commission and we can approve it as so. But as of right, I'm not comfortable increasing everything in magenta there. So, one of the recommendations that I would make would be to limit the actual distance from the metro station. Secondly, we had something on the lease duration. You had maximum 1 year?
Yeah.
Why 1 year instead of 2 years on a maximum? Why wouldn't it just be a minimum? Just asking. Instead of minimum 1 year, you did maximum 1 year. Like, why can't you do 2 years lease?
We could.
What was your thought process there, so I
We're
understand?
trying to focus it on student housing and not allow it to become regular housing. Although most leases are 1 year. I mean, it's just, we wanted to create that sort of need to turn over so that we don't have people lingering there for sort of a long term.
I mean, sometimes we've lived on student housing for 2 years, so I would just ask you to just make sure you talk to some of the people that do student housing. If they do 1 or 2 year limitations on it. It doesn't matter to me, but I just think that 1 year max is limiting a little bit. It gives you the opportunity to actually get 2 year leases and they're comfortable and they can plan for them, just whatever.
Okay.
Did we speak about retail on the first floor?
I didn't, but it is in the presentation, and we
Right.
do have an allowance for it, yes.
So my understanding of the allowance on retail on the first floor was a percentage basis of the floor square footage. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Okay, so why would we limit or maximize what we can do there, and especially in that district? Why was the limitation so much smaller for retail?
Yeah, so the student housing can occur in two places. TODA allows mixed use, we have no problem there. The TSNA, we established
So it's just that
as
area.
a residential area, and so we have to keep it small and make sure that it's ancillary. In other words, it's related to the use, related to the residents inside the building. The reason for that is twofold. One is for the impacts to the neighborhood. The other reason is that we don't want to unravel the residential designation of those properties for the purposes of live local exposure.
So the limitation is strictly at the TSDA?
The TSNA.
TSNA, sorry.
Yeah.
So colleagues, that specific area across the street, we have retail across the first floor as well. We just need to look into to make sure and understand that there is disruption there. I'm of the my thought process here that we need a little bit more in that area, whether it's restaurants, whether it's retail. The community's been begging for it, so I would just think about expanding that especially in that specific area.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, no, go ahead, keep going.
so we can talk about that.
Okay.
When we have all these limitations from a commercial and what is the form of, and maybe this is to the city attorney, what is the form of enforcement, or like if someone violates certain rights of how long they're staying in there, how many people are living in it, there's no enforcement, what right do we have as a city to enforce that?
So any violation of code is subject to potential code enforcement. So that's one aspect. If it's a condition of approval, you've got the ability to all of our resolutions always relate back to those conditions and provide for enforcement of those conditions, which include revocation of BTRs and CUs and that kind of thing.
Okay, thank you. On the limitations of the bedroom areas at 10 by 10, have we done an understanding of what the rest of the market is doing when it comes to actual bedrooms? I mean, we've toured, I know Commissioner Rodriguez and I toured a couple different facilities with the bedroom sizes. Is that something that's common at a 10 by 10, or did we do that type of research and understanding of
No,
what
the
a
10 by
bedroom?
10 is small. And like I said, we can make that number bigger. We don't want to make it too big. So we started on something fairly small, actually quite small. Just to, again, the framework was important to get some kind of minimum in there, but we can discuss the number.
Just in my research study, when I've done a lot of student housing, the abilities to do over 5 and 6 bedrooms in a certain unit, they're not as feasible, or they don't get rent as easily because they're difficult. A lot of people want to stay together. So when you do that, you have to pack them sardines, and that's where you get the 10 by 10s. I'm not a big fan of that. So let's figure out, in my opinion, how do we get them a little bit bigger than that? Understanding what our partners in the area might want to do versus what's going on, that'll be my suggestion.
Yeah, most of the ones that I've seen are more in the range of 150, which is still small, but it's not
It's better.
tiny.
12 by 12, that's fine. So the other proposal, so the last question I had was on parking ratios. So your recommendation is to do a half, or is it a 1-to-1 per unit? It's half now, but
It's
what you
one
were saying, okay.
for a unit up to 4 bedrooms, which is coming down to a quarter. And the reason for that is that's exactly what the TODA multifamily is. If we did something more, we would have more parking requirement than for regular residential, which creates a situation, I think, where we're going to have some shopping on the uses back and forth.
A current you saying that a current TODA has 1-to-1 up to 4 units per
No,
unit?
it's actually, it's three
No,
quarters.
4
for
bedroom,
efficient-
sorry, 4-bedroom unit could have one parking spot?
Yes, in the TODA. It's 0.75 for an efficiency or a 1-bedroom, and then for everything after that, it's 1 space. We have a very aggressive parking regulation for the TODA. The rest of the TSTD goes up to a space and a half at the 2 and 3 bedroom. No, I'm sorry, it's a
We don't see
space.
we don't see the market going up to 4 bedrooms in a lot of these multifamily units anyway. Mostly if it's going to be 2 and 3 bedrooms max.
Right.
But I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean,
What is RTZ doing in the Gables? I know Landmark is proposing an opportunity there. Have we looked and studied what's going on there at that site?
I'm not familiar with it.
Okay. So there's also, Landmark has an opportunity that their student housing where they developed 14 bedrooms, 6 spots. 14 beds, 6 spots. That's a ratio of 3 to 7, which is a little bit more aggressive than half. Okay. Let me research this a little bit further. I'm not sold on what to do parking there. Okay, that's all the question I have. Thanks, colleagues.
Thank you, Commissioner Guy. If I could just jump over here, and then I'll go back to Commissioner Rodriguez. Commissioner Benich?
I think first, when we're comparing student housing to multifamily, it's same but different, because when you're in a multifamily, you've got a mom and dad, and usually, 1 small kid, 2 small kids, whatever, but the chances that all 4 people that are living in a 2 or 3 bedroom apartment are all going to be driving cars is minimized, where I think if you look at college students, and I am of the benefit, I have 2 college students right now. I think probably 70% of them are bringing their cars. And while I understand that we want to give them, a minuscule spot in the garage and then price everything else out, I think you can't price it out if it's not there, right? So if we were to say, hey, you need a quarter of a parking space for an apartment with 4 bedrooms in it, and I'm making this up, I understand what the number is, but if we end up with 1 parking space for a 4-bedroom apartment, we all know a parking space is the most expensive thing to build. So nobody's going to be gratuitously building parking spaces, at least not that, I wouldn't do that with my money, maybe I'm crazy. But I understand what you're trying to do with multifamily and student housing, but it doesn't mesh. And if that means we have to make multifamily have more parking spaces so that we don't run into the issue, I'd rather err that way than not enough parking, because this idea that people don't have a car, and I know I've said this 1,000 times, is ridiculous. If I talk to 25 people, 23 out of those 25 people are going to have a car. If you look at Vox, those kids are in and out all day. So sure, some of them scooter. I scooter, but I still have a car. And I want a place to put my car, and I don't necessarily want to pay, you know, $200 more a month to say I can park my car there. So I think we need to hit a sweet spot. I don't think that we are there. I would err more on what Miami-Dade County is doing, which is 2/3 for per bedroom, whatever. So I'm with Commissioner Kaya, where I think that needs more work. When you were saying it's 400 units per acre, what do we have across the street with what's getting built right now? Do you know?
60, 75? That's 200 units an acre.
Okay, so this is double that, and that was the most dense property that
That's
we had.
bedrooms. That's bedrooms.
No, we're talking about bedrooms first.
Okay. Bedrooms versus units.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think it's actually 196 across the street.
196 across the street. So how does that kind of pan out? I don't know the answer. I don't need you to answer it right now.
Right.
These are things that I want you to think about because it's obvious that I think we have more questions than answers at the moment. And then, oh my goodness, the shops on the first floor. I understand what Commissioner Kaya is saying about wanting to activate those spaces, but when you're in TSNA and you are in these 2 units that are away from the Red Road Commons, I guess it's called, the next one over, Red Road's Common is not backing up into people's homes for the most part. If you look at the way that the retail is set up and you look at everything, it really is more part of that commercial core than it is the other one. The other one is essentially surrounded by residential. So that's why I think having a smaller footprint and having it be ancillary to what's in the building is important, because if not, we're gonna start seeing creep, because realistically, right now, they bought those 2, but if this thing took off like gangbusters, you'd have someone asking you for a variance the next block down, or the next block down, or the next block in.
We say no.
But
Actually-
that's us. But we have to think of people who aren't us in the future. They might
Commissioner,
not have.
You
the
reminded
same
me of
idea.
something I didn't say about that topic. And we have in our own comprehensive plan, the word creep reminded me, that we have a policy that says we shall not encroach into the residential areas with commercial development. This could be seen as that. So this is why we want to keep it as ancillary and
Yep.
small.
And I agree with Commissioner Calle. We don't want to become the hub of student housing, because just like we had a conversation a year ago about not becoming the hole in the donut for affordable housing, we don't want to be the hole in the donut for student housing either. And I would even venture to say we need to tighten, really tighten where this can happen.
Thank you, Commissioner Benich. Commissioner Rodriguez?
How you doing, Marge?
Good, how are you?
Glasses are on.
So, couple questions. I didn't see any there. What are the max unit limits that we are allowing?
The maximum number of units?
Yeah, bedrooms.
It would be, we would have it at 400 right now. 400,
No,
I'm
I'm
sorry,
saying that-
400 per acre, excuse me.
No, but one unit can have 5 bedrooms?
Oh, we don't have an upper limit on the number of bedrooms per unit.
So they could do as many bedrooms as they want per unit?
Correct. We've seen up to 5.
Okay. I think that's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's like the one unit having 4 bedrooms.
Typically, mostly,
Typical
More-
multifamily is going to be 1s and 2s, a few 3s and bigger. It seems that what's typical for the student housing is, the sweet spot is around 4 rooms per unit.
I think 5 and 6 is a little much. What determines the bathroom requirements? Is it 2 bedrooms for 1 bathroom? Or
We did not include a bathroom requirement,
there's no
so
bathroom
that's
requirement?
market-driven.
I think it's important to require that. And for example, many moons ago when I was in college, it was this kind of, when this all took off, the student housing per bedroom, we each had our own bathroom within our bedroom, and I think that makes it much more its own unit for the student, and then there's the common area. So we might want to think about the bathroom bathroom requirement? Because, I don't think it's fair that if a developer decides to do 4 bedrooms and then 1 bathroom, that all 4 students are gonna have to share 1 bathroom. So I think there needs to be at least a minimum, something to address that.
Okay.
How many, at Vox, how big are their rooms? Do you know?
I don't know, actually. I didn't have any floor
Because,
plans to use from
like
Vox.
Commissioner Kaya said, we toured those, and those units look, those look like good sized units. I would research what that is and maybe set that as our minimum. Because
Okay.
they're already in the neighborhood, yes, it's county land, but it's still South Miami. And how do their parking requirement, they're at what, 2/3?
For the Vox?
Yeah.
I'm not sure because the garage, they're telling us that, again, it's operated and priced differently from the units.
Okay.
I've heard different stories about it, to be honest, so I'm not really sure.
So I agree with Commissioner Bonich and Commissioner Kaya as far as the parking. I think, in Miami, parking, I would venture to go more into the 2/3 range and change the residential, like Commissioner Bonich said, rather than the other way. So that's something to think about. And then also what Commissioner Kaya said and Commissioner Bonich reinforced was, I think we should set a distance. I think that was a great idea by Commissioner Kaya as far as setting a distance of where we can put these types of projects. We don't want to become this Commerce Lane or all that become just a student housing
I understand.
corridor. So
Okay.
my biggest things are, I don't think we should, I think 5 and 6 bedrooms are too much, and I think that we should do a minimum on bathrooms. Those are 2 things.
You mentioned something else
Great.
about changing the requirement on residential. That would require a separate ordinance.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just saying, because you're trying to keep this the same as.
The residential is around it,
Correct.
the requirement anyway.
I would tend to venture of going, like Commissioner Bonich said, rather than bringing the student housing down. Because, as she said, I tend to agree with that. You could have a family in there, you can have one person with a 2-bedroom. I've seen that. I've had friends that had 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom condos for them and 1 car. So, but with student housing, chances are that more of them are gonna have a vehicle than not.
Sure, we do have to open for public comment and then move to discussion.
Oh, we
But
have
are you
discussion?
asking any questions?
Oh,
No,
no,
this
that
isn't
was
discussion, this is still a public hearing.
Vice Mayor, yeah, if I could just offer one clarification, the definition of off-campus student apartments includes 1 bathroom per student.
Perfect.
Yeah, one
Yeah.
student per bedroom and 1 bathroom per student.
Okay.
Yeah, and
That sounds good.
if we have any other questions for staff, if not, I'll open the public hearing and then we can move to discussion ourselves to give direction. Sound good? All right, thank you so much, Mark. We really appreciate it. Thank you. So we'd like to open to public remarks. Anybody in person or on Zoom who would like to speak, please come to the podium. Your name and address for the record, sir?
Good evening, Mr. Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Mario Garcia Serra with offices at 600 Brickell Avenue. Here this evening representing Subtech Acquisitions LLC. They are the contract purchaser for the property located at 6404 and 6504 Southwest 57th Avenue. And I'd say the one overreaching message perhaps that I have for you this evening is that this is legislation which makes sense. It's going in the right direction. It's what the market is essentially requiring. This is happening. And you have the industry that's engaged. Myself, my client, other developers that are in this space are looking to collaborate with the city to bring about, regulations and an ordinance that makes sense. And so many of the issues that you were discussing, it was interesting because when my clients started developing their project or designing their project, they were basing it just on the multifamily regulations that exist today. These student housing regulations came up, and indeed they're addressing a very significant need, which is the fact that the definition of family in South Miami does not really coincide with what would be the typical situation of more than 3 unrelated persons living together in student housing. So just for that purpose, it's important to get this legislation done. So many of the other issues that we were discussing about parking is very interesting. Parking, where we end up in our project, what we were parking it as multifamily, wouldn't it be too far away from the parking requirement if you were to go with 0.5 cars per, or 0.5 parking spaces per bedroom? Bathrooms, every unit already had, as designed, every bedroom already had a bathroom. On the issue of minimum unit size, it's interesting. The only place where it really came up in our design was in the one-bedroom units, because the one-bedroom units have their own living room and then have their own bedroom. If you count just the bedroom space where literally somebody's sleeping in, you come in slightly over, under 100. It's 912 square feet, I think. But you've got a closet, you have a bathroom, you have a separate living area. All that, I think, should be taken into consideration as far as what's the actual living area of that unit. We have to be sensitive, too, to what, how these projects can be financed. The issue of how many unrelated people can be living together is very important to lenders that are going to be out there that are going to finance this project. The idea of, can there be some small subset other than students that potentially live here, perhaps renting out a whole unit with all the bedrooms is also important to lenders. So the one thing I would say is so many of these issues, I think we're coming very close as to what the reality is of what the market wants to put out there in order to have a product that works compared to what's being recommended. And so if we could just continue working together between first and second reading, the industry and the city to get something that's going to work for everybody.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else who would like to speak, please come to the microphone.
Again, for the record, Javier Avignon with the law firm of Bills and Sundberg, 1450 Burkle Avenue. I will echo many of Mario's comments. I think this is good legislation. I think we're definitely rowing in the right direction. We've heard your comments and your sentiments. I do think there is, and Mark alluded to it in his presentation, I think we need to be mindful of the differences between the TSNA and the TODA. There are obviously differences, both from a neighborhood standpoint, from a context standpoint, and candidly from a density and intensity standpoint, right? The decision was made when the TODA and TSNA regulations were put in place to have very different density calculations for the TSNA, for instance, is 100 dwelling units per acre from a multifamily standpoint, whereas for TODA, it's 200 units to the acre. You have a 16-story height limitation in the TODA, and you have a 6-story height limitation in the TSNA, right? So we want to be mindful of that when we're thinking also of the same type of projects from a student housing perspective. So I think there are opportunities there to evaluate the bedroom count, because as the current legislation stands, your cap of 400 bedrooms per acre is the same in the TSNA and the TODA, which doesn't really make a lot of sense if you're at 100 dwelling units per acre on the TSNA and you're at 200 dwelling units per acre on the TODA. I'm not suggesting that it needs to be double, but there's got to be some sort of difference there to account for the higher density count, because as Mark said, unfortunately, what will happen, from a market standpoint is people will look at, multifamily as an option, as opposed to, doing it the right way under a proper student housing legislation. And then with respect to parking, obviously there's lots of sensitivities around parking. I get it. I also have a college-age student, happens to live in a different city, a city that has, arguably a different public transportation system. I get that. I've heard that many times. But with respect to parking, when folks come in to rent these units, they're going to be offered X, Y, or Z as an option. And so if there's not the availability if you have a car, and that's an important aspect of where you're moving into, and there's not a ready availability for it, the developer's not going to be able to rent that unit. And so there is a driving, push and pull. Obviously, from a zoning perspective, we want to have the right amount that calculates what the needs are from a community standpoint. But at the same time, the market drives some of those factors. And when you're in close proximity, as Commissioner Kaya said, to rail, that does drive the optionality for those students. So, I'm confident that we can continue to work with staff to address some of these remaining items. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And is there anyone else who would like to speak in public comment, in person or online? Please raise your hand. Seeing no one, we'll go ahead and close public comment here. Now, we did discuss some items, but I'd like to open this for discussion. If someone could move it for us to discuss so we could give direction to the city attorney.
You need to move it right away, you want us to
Or
discuss
just to discuss the
All right,
motion.
I'll go
to
first.
discuss.
Do we, Mr. City Attorney, do we have a different, we obviously have different density units for Todd A?
TODA and TSNA, yes,
uh-huh.
we do. We have two different,
Yeah, it's two different densities, but are we keeping the same density when it comes to actual units? Like bedrooms per acre? So
So-
400?
so, yeah, let me answer what I think you're asking. I think under, in TSNA, we allow 100 units per acre. In TODA, which is the
200.
more intense district, we allow up to 200 units per acre when you're getting bonuses. However, in our ordinance, what we have proposed, Mr. Arvino is right. We are proposing at this time the same bedroom cap, which would be 400 bedrooms per acre for both. That's what's in the ordinance that's in front of you.
What's the thought process behind that? Why is it the same? Do we know?
No, I think we were looking to limit it, but Mr. Alvarez can address that.
No, I believe Mr. Trevino is right. We need to
It's
treat
a
them
fair
both
point.
differently.
That's fair, okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Arvino said some things that, we should consider as well. Market drives a lot of this stuff, right? The market is starting to drive down parking, so I don't want to be too restrictive. This is just my personal opinion. I don't want to be too restrictive on parking. I've seen situations where you have 14 bedrooms and only 6 parking spots, and they're rented, so the ability for them to walk across the street to go to school, the ability to take the metro station, the ability to take the underline to get to school, let market drive that, right? I think that we set our certain limitations on what that number should be and let it be. Market will drive how many bathrooms are in there, right? If someone wants to have 4 bedrooms and 1 bathroom, the likelihood that they have to lower the rent or not rent at all, that's on them, right? No, I'm just saying, like, my overall picture and statement here is that market, a lot of this stuff will be driven by market.
Yep.
So let's just be conscious of that when we make some of these decisions.
Well, sorry, if I could just, I think what I heard generally was about like 4 buckets of discussion, and that we could then provide as direction, because this is the first reading. I heard one on zoning, where obviously I think we were all of the mind to maybe tighten up the zoning so that there's less potential availability for student housing, so that we can have more of a mixture of other usages. Another one was on unit size. That's something else we can discuss. Another was on parking, and then of course bathrooms was brought up, but.
Well, that
yeah.
was clarified already by the city attorney.
Okay,
Yeah, they're
so-
required to have 1 for 1.
So on the zoning side, everybody is of the mind as well that between first and second reading, we should find a way to tighten the availability of.
To limit, yeah.
Limit it.
Yeah.
Limit it. Okay.
Agreed.
So that would be one piece of direction. On the other side, with unit size, are we all in agreement that 100 square feet is too small for a single unit or for a room?
I mean, I say
Are
yes.
you? And Commissioner Kaye?
Yep.
Yeah, so maybe we can look into some comparables, especially looking at Vox and some of the other products in the market to
Yeah.
see where we might be able to increase the minimum.
One question, Mr. Garcia Serra had brought up.
What bedrooms?
The situation when it's a one bedroom, so you actually have the entire apartment.
Yeah, that's.
So maybe we
true.
count
That's
for
a
that
very good
specific
point.
Yes.
instance.
Right.
It was a fair point.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Absolutely.
Okay. And then the last part on parking, and Commissioner Kaya just made a comment on this. Were we okay with the half a parking space per bedroom, or do you want to increase it to 2/3?
I mean, you guys go ahead.
I just think that knowing that parking is the more expensive thing to do in building, to say that we're not going to mandate something that I understand market drives a lot of things. I get you. But if there are no guardrails, then that parking space, and I'm not saying you guys would ever do this, I'm just saying in general, if you had 14 units and 6 parking spaces, it could get a little crazy, okay? That parking space, which was $150, then becomes $500, then becomes $700, then, we're fighting like New York. People enterándose, beating each other up in the street for a parking space. We don't want to push these students, especially in TSNA, into the neighborhoods. And that is what will happen. When you don't have enough parking, they will find a place to put their car. And if you're at Vox, yeah, you're lucky. If you're, across the street from Vox, maybe you can rent a spot in that garage if they have it. But we're supposing based on pins on a map, and we can't really function that way. So knowing that, I think we need to put a realistic parking number in there. And whether that is, half a parking space, 2/3, sorry, Mark, I think you're parking cuckoo, because you don't like parking. But, so when I look at you, I'm like, I don't want your opinion. But I think we need to find like a sweet spot for that is realistic, that is not supposing that everybody's gonna hop on a bike, because while you might hop on a bike the first day, in April, you're not hopping on the bike. In April, you're ready to throw the bike at, somebody, because it's 600 degrees outside. So, we have to keep all of that in mind.
So between first and second reading, would we want to make any modifications to half a parking space per room? I'm comfortable with it, again, as a minimum, and because it's competitive and comparable to the other products we have. Obviously, they mentioned before some of the risks associated with choosing another zoning instead could be an issue too. Does anybody have interest in increasing the parking requirements between first and second? I don't.
I mean, I think it's responsible for us to do it.
To increase it?
To increase it.
Maybe we can hear more information on second reading.
So I
then,
guess he can help decide.
Yeah, perfect. He could be the deciding vote on second reading.
Yeah.
Okay. So perfect. So we won't, at this time, we won't add any direction on that, but we did on the unit size and on the zoning.
Do you want us to come back to you with some information regarding those parking ratios? That way you can have a little bit more information.
Sure.
Yes. Oh, sir, sorry, go ahead, Commissioner.
And I think it's important to note that we kind of have an idea at Vox what they're looking at, which is like 60%. So about 60% of their rooms have a car. So something to keep in mind. I don't know how that breaks out to Mark's
It would be, I think that would equate to a 0.6.
0.6. There you go. Thank you,
the-
math man.
Yeah.
But Vox had an opportunity to get a relationship with more parking, so they cater to that. It doesn't necessarily mean that's what the market's driving, right? So just be conscious of that. They have over 1,400 spots, 700 allocated just to that.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying they're like in a privileged position.
Yeah.
They built next to a massive parking lot.
It's like Commissioner Rodriguez having his own bathroom in his room. I didn't have that fortunate situation.
Yeah, me neither.
Oh, my.
Walk all the way down the hall in a
I had to
towel.
wear my pantuflas.
Yeah, well, because.
I don't know what that is, but, all right. We'll go ahead and, if anybody would like to do a motion to approve with some of the direction for second reading.
I'll move it.
I'll second.
All right.
But, so is it clear to the?
Yes. Yep, thank you.
Commissioner Kaye?
Yes.
Commissioner Rodriguez?
Yes.
Commissioner Bonish?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Corey?
Yes.
Passes 4-0 on first reading.
All right, and thank you very much for coming out tonight. We're moving on to Resolution 5.
Resolution 5, a resolution of the Mayor and City Commissioner of the City of South Miami, Florida, approving and authorizing a renewal agreement with Central Square Technologies for the South Miami Police Department's computer-aided dispatch records management system and mobile field reporting software for a one-year term in amount of $129,113.
I
and 37 cents, with the option to renew for 2 additional one-year terms.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on this item?
It's a public hearing as well.
Yes. Anyone from the public would like to speak on this item in person or on Zoom? Seeing no one, I will close the public remarks. And can I have a motion to approve this item?
I'll move it.
We're on
Police.
5.
The police.
No, yeah, police. All right. Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Commissioner Bonish?
Yes.
Commissioner Rodriguez?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaye?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Corey?
Yes.
Item passes 4-0.
Thank you very much. And we'll move to item 10.
Item 10. Excuse me. Item 10, an ordinance of the Mayor and City Commission of the City of South Bend, Florida, selecting and awarding a franchise agreement to Maya Catering and Events, Inc. for the concessionaire operation and management services at Palmer Park and South Bend Park for a 5-year term pursuant to a request for proposals number PR 2025-14, authorizing the city manager to negotiate and to enter into a franchise agreement.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on this item?
Nope.
It's a public hearing.
Would anyone from the public like to speak on this item? Seeing no one in person, anyone on Zoom? Seeing no one on Zoom, we'll close the public remarks. Could I have a motion to?
I have a quick question.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. I guess to the manager or to Quentin, what kind of food is it that they're providing?
I'll let the director elaborate on the food specifically.
Good evening again, Quentin Pugh, Director of Parks, Recreation, and Culture. Some of the entrees that he included in his proposal include grilled chicken Caesar wraps, Angus and veggie burgers, salads, turkey hot dogs, chicken nuggets, and he also mentioned complementing a rotating weekly special such as Taco Tuesday. Forgive me if I mispronounce any of the following menu options: pan con lechon, pan con bestique, and Maya's Cuban signature sandwich, along with some other healthy items such as empanadas, croquettes. I'm not gonna even try that one. Fries and popcorn, churros, flan, some fruit cups, bananas, apples, things of that magnitude, as well as some assorted candy and chips and things of that magnitude.
If it was a menu item from Chipotle, he would have pronounced it appropriately. Because he's there 4 out of 5 days of the week.
Director Pugh, I did have a question. I know we have an effort to try and get defibrillators out into these locations. Are these vendors in any way, shape, or form helping us with that?
No, but there will be one in the concession stand area as well as in our main office. We did receive the final proposal for those units, so hopefully over the next 30 to 45 days, those will be deployed at multiple parks, Palmer Park, South Miami Park, new ones at Dante Facel, and then we'll be replacing the ones at the community center as well.
All right. Appreciate that. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, were there any additional questions? Okay. Could we have a motion to approve?
I'll move.
We already moved it.
We did move it to approve? No, we didn't.
I said, yeah. Oh, you got it.
So I'll move it.
I'll second.
Commissioner Kaye?
Yes.
Commissioner Rodriguez?
Yes.
Commissioner Moniz?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Corey?
Yes.
Item passes 4-0.
All right, thank you very much. We are going to move to item 4 now. Yeah, I know, we're moving all over the place.
Item 4, a resolution of the Mayor and City Commission of the City of South Bend, Florida, approving the proposal and project agreement with SRS Engineering for additional design and post-design services related to the modified repairs of the Southwest 63rd Court Bridge over Twin Lake Canal for a lump sum fee not to exceed $217,159.87.
All right, thank you very much. Is there any discussion item for this? Or any discussion for this?
I just have a question.
Okay, go ahead, Commissioner Benich.
I just want to make sure this is what we're looking at based on changing the deck and all of that. There's not anything we haven't talked about.
That's correct. This item would only be needed if item 3 were approved, which is awarding to the contractor. In this case, it would be to redesign based on a new methodology that would replace the deck, as you mentioned, and as described in the prior meeting that we had when we introduced this item as to how the contractor would approach it. So this would be to have SRS design, which would take about roughly 6 weeks, based on our prior discussions.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So could I have a motion?
I'll move the motion.
Somebody else second.
I'll second it.
All right.
Yes, Commissioner Bonish,
Yes.
Commissioner Kaye,
Reluctantly, yes, I'm just kidding.
Commissioner Rodriguez,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Corey.
Yes.
Item passes 4-0.
All right, so I did want to take this opportunity to put the add-on in.
We didn't do item 3 though, you know.
Oh, we didn't
And
do
item
item 3?
three.
Okay, item 3. Okay, sorry. Okay, let's do item 3 then, sorry.
Okay. Item 3, a resolution of the Mayor and City Commission of the City of South Bend, Florida, selecting and awarding a construction contract to Southern Road and Bridge LLC for the Southwest 63rd Court Bridge Repairs Project in amount of $3,399,862 pursuant to Section 255.20C1 and 255.20C5 for the statutes. That's it.
I'm done.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Thank you. Commission, any discussion?
Not from me.
All right.
Move the motion.
Could we hear a motion?
Move it. I'll move the motion.
I'll second for Commissioner Kaye over here.
He's staying away from that.
Commissioner Rodriguez,
Yes.
Commissioner Bonish,
Yes.
Commissioner Kaye,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Corey.
Yes.
Item passes 4-0.
Great. And yes, if we could take on the add-on item, F1, please.
Yes. A resolution of the Mayor and City Commission of the City of South Bend, Florida, approving a revised Task 5 scope of services and fees in amount not to exceed $1,151,544.90 for the project scope from Plus Urbia LLC, DBA Plus Urbia Design for placemaking, branding, and urban design services for the hometown district located on Sunset Drive and adjacent streets.
Thank you very much. As this was an add-on, City Manager, do you mind just giving us a brief update on it?
Yes, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, this item, as we presented during our Sunshine Meeting and Goals session, and provided an update as well on the original Task 5 as approved, which is construction drawings and engineering, and its revised proposal to be able to accommodate the current project as designed through after charrette and input from the commission. So we have presented this item showing and describing how each of the disciplines were influencing its pricing. So in this case, it's an approval for Task 5, which would take us through construction drawings of $1,046,859. There's a 10% contingency, potentially if it's necessary. That equates to $104,686. So this approval would allow the continuation of the project and getting us through Task 5 and construction drawings. I will say that there was a request to bring forward an option for the additional street that had been identified. That portion was not ready, so it's not before you. So we would bring that to you when that proposal is ready. And so obviously we wanted to get this to you. That's why we added it on, because all the information was right up to the last minute. But that's still pending, and we'll bring forward the option on the additional street as requested.
Thank you very much. Commissioner, is there any discussion on this item? Oh, Commissioner Benich?
Thank you. I just want to make note in case in the public, they haven't opened the attachments. This is originally earmarked at 310,915. It has an increase of 735,944. So while we're approving 1 point blah, 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 310 of that was already accounted for in the working budget. So it's really the increase of 735, or 736 essentially.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Benich. Can we have a motion on this item?
I'll move it.
Second.
Commissioner Bonich,
Yes.
Commissioner Kaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Rodriguez.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Corey,
Yes.
item passed 4-0.
All right, I believe we have item 12 left.
Yes.
Just quick question, does that, do we have another vote on this, or that's it? This is,
No, that's it.
We'll be bringing the option.
The option.
Yeah, standalone item that you would approve.
yeah,
And so we have to bring this to, I'm hoping, the next commission meeting.
but this portion, they can get started.
Yes, sir.
Hooray, we should pop the computer.
I agree.
Item 12, an ordinance of the Mayor and City Commission of the City of South Miami, Florida, authorizing the issuance of a general obligation note of the City of South Miami, Florida, not to exceed $6,700,000 for the purpose of financing the cost of culvert improvements, bridge repairs over the Twin Lake Canal, and the acquisition of land for park development, and paying costs of issuance of the note, providing for a supplemental resolution setting forth the details of said note, approving the selection of Truist Bank to purchase the note and provide a line of credit in connection therewith, authorizing the city manager and city official to negotiate with Truist for purchase of the note and the terms of the line of credit.
Thank you very much. Commission, any discussion on this item?
Should we have a summary?
Oh, sorry, that's right. Chip, do you mind giving us a breakdown here?
Sure. I'll just give you a high-level overview, and certainly our CFO, is a little under the weather, maybe has a Barry White voice today, so I'll try to advance it as much as possible, and certainly Alfredo, who worked with our financial advisor on this. As we had previously discussed, we were going to pursue and take advantage of a line of credit to further several projects. Originally, we had discussed packaging our infrastructure projects, the two culverts and the bridge into a borrowing. During that time, we also then pursued the acquisition of that Manor Lane parcel. So this line of credit anticipate those projects. There was an RFP in cooperation with our financial consultant, PFM, and we received 4 proposals from 4 different institutions. What's before you is recommending to partner up with Truist Bank to be the entity that will provide this line of credit for us. This is up to $6.7 million. Truist had the most favorable rate and what I will tell you is, I want to make sure I don't forget, part of this is also to hopefully leverage and take advantage of when we retire the debt on the garage, which will be October of '26. So one of the things that we've discussed internally is to potentially use, there'll be some drawdown immediately because of the closing costs that we're going to incur, and then the financial advisor and attorneys and so forth. I think that's to the tune of $50,000. But any further draws, what we have discussed is to use some cash in the interim and try to get us closer to that date of October of '26. And so when we do draw down and then there's payments expected on that, we would have retired the other debt. And so that's an approach that we've discussed. And so we would use this line of credit as a bridge loan. Ultimately, part of what we also discussed is the voters that approve a general obligation bond of up to $65 million, if and when that also comes into the picture from a financing standpoint, that we could roll this into the bigger financing. A lot of details on the elements of the proposal, and certainly happy to have Alfredo take you through deeper on any of that. But that's the high level, and certainly can answer any more questions that you have.
Thank you very much. And Commissioner Benich, I believe you had a comment?
Don't I always? I know I sound a lot like a broken record when I say that we have financial creep. You know, we start out with a number, then we move a little, and then we move a little, and move a little, and move a little. And when I say we, I don't mean me. It's easy, I think, to lose sight of what this means to our residents, what it means to everybody's individual pocket. And I always find it interesting because we talk about residents like they're somebody else, but it's us. It's my pocket. It's your pocket, your pocket, your pocket. And when I look at our operating budget and I see things that are not going to happen or I don't feel are going to happen in the near term, like the South Miami Park parking lot at $1.25 million, Dante Fasel building at $3.8 million, we essentially have $5 million just sitting there. And I think it's important to note that the Director of Finance actually, I had a conversation with him today, and he did say right now it's cheaper to borrow than it is to use our own because the interest rate is that favorable. So I say this knowing I'm going to vote yes on this simply because of that, but I urge us all to really pay attention because when we started talking about this, it didn't include Manor Lane. And now all of a sudden, Manor Lane is part of this at over $1 million. Right around the corner, we're looking at the landscaping of this city, and we're looking at the placemaking, hopefully, sometime in my lifetime. And so, you know, we finally crossed the bridge and just approved 5 at a tune of an additional $730-something thousand. That's a lot of money. When we talk about realistically, if we start to do that placemaking, we're talking about $15 million easy without even thinking about it. Landscaping is another couple $1 million. And I think it will be very easy, like they say in Spanish, ya que, since we're already doing A, we might as well do B. You get to B, we might as well do C. And by the time you turn around, you've spent another $10 million of somebody else's money because it is not our money. So I think in this case, it's important to say yes, simply because right now, the interest rates are favorable to us. So it'd be stupid for us to use our own money when we'll be making money on the money we don't use. But that's not always the case. And I think we need to be really, really critical of how we're spending our money because I worried before and I still worry that everybody, and when I say everybody, I don't mean just the 5 of us, I say everybody. We see it with our residents, we see it with people we talk to, where we've kind of maybe lost sight a little bit of what $1 million is and what multi-million dollars are, because it's an abstract concept, but it's not going to be abstract when we have to pay for it.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Benich. Did anyone else have any discussion? Go ahead, Commissioner Kaye.
Well, to the city manager, the rate is variable or is it fixed? Variable, right?
Variable rate.
Okay. It's a line of credit, right? So it's variable. Okay. So the understanding, so all we're doing is opening the line. So giving us the opportunity to be variable, that's all we're doing here. I agree with you that we need to be very conscious about what we're doing. Most of the designs and the efforts that we do, we have an understanding how we're going to go pay for it the long term. But you're right, we just got to be very careful of mission creep. So thank you for reminding us.
Yeah, thank you. And I do think it's always important to ask the question. Of course, you look at everything. We had the referendum for the bond. I do think that was the city telling us that they want to see our services keep up with the neighborhood. And I think that's what we're doing here as well. But thank you, everybody, for your input. And is there a motion on the item?
Well, I'll move.
Second.
Commissioner Kaye?
Yes.
Commissioner Rodriguez?
Yes.
Commissioner Bonich?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Corey?
Yes.
Item passes 4-0. First
Thank you. And then all that leaves for us tonight is commission discussion. Does anybody have anything they want to bring up?
I would like to say one thing.
Absolutely. Commissioner Rodriguez.
So I just want to say, it's funny that It was exactly a year ago that I joined you fine gentlemen, people. So I just wanted to say that I can't believe it's been a year already. So it's been great working with you guys. It's been great working with staff, and I look forward to the future.
I'm glad you're here.
Congratulations.
I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And yeah, I'll just add one additional thing. I wanted to thank the city for all of the holiday decorations. I went around with my 3-year-old daughter. She sat on everything you could sit on, and some things you're not supposed to sit on. So, but she had an absolute blast. Thank you to the city. Thank you to Commissioner Benich, who's always spearheaded doing more and more and more there. I think we are making our downtown magical for the holidays. So, thank you.
May I say one thing?
Yes, absolutely.
Very good job today, Brian.
Oh, thank you.
You've done us all proud.
Oh, thank you. Thank
Very
you. Thank
good.
you.
Woo-hoo.
Oh,
Thank you for
stop.
stepping in.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.